Great show.
Thanks very much, Marty.
Cheers.
Have a good day. See you bright and early tomorrow morning. Okay, it is the 9 till noon show. And we're with you for the next 3 hours. We've got lots coming up in the programme, as always. So please stay tuned. I sound like I'm begging, but you know what I mean. It's going to be very entertaining. Okay, it is 9 o'clock. Time for a news update. Let's cross over now to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The Pope's open casket has been carried to St. Peter's Basilica. Bells rang as Pope Francis' coffin was carried through the square, escorted by a procession of solemn cardinals and Swiss guards. Huge crowds have also gathered, and from this morning, hundreds of thousands of people will be allowed in to see his body and pay their respects. He will lie there for 3 days ahead of his funeral on Saturday. Applause broke out among the watching crowds as his coffin reached the Basilica steps. New veterinary courses at the Atlantic Technological University won't be in operation until at least 2026. It was anticipated that the first intake of students at the ATU and SETU would be in September this year. Higher Education Minister James Lawless says the universities involved need times for matters, including the hiring process and certification. The establishment of the 2 new courses was announced last autumn, with the programme to be delivered primarily at the ATU campus in Donegal. Speaking at the Teachers Union of Ireland's Congress, Minister Lawless says it's unfortunate the option is not available for students this year, but says work is progressing.
2026 for ATU and SETU. So neither college, unfortunately, is in a position to deliver those September. Ideally, I would like to be announcing that those veterinary courses were starting in September of this year. They're not. Both colleges have put their hands up and said to me, we're not ready to do that yet. We need a little bit more time. In some cases, about certification. It's about having that international recognition to credit grades.
Today is the final day for people to have their say on a proposed gold mine in County Tyrone. A transboundary consultation is ongoing, and the Save Our Sperrins campaign group is encouraging people to support their campaign to halt the development by Dalradian. The group has been raising concerns over the potential environmental impact of the gold mine. Dalradian has been working on the site near Greencastle in the Sperrin Mountains since 2009. A Planning Appeals Commission inquiry was suspended in January, partly because people in Donegal hadn't been consulted. The deadline for submissions to the transboundary consultation is 5 o'clock today. And former Taoiseach Frances Fitzgerald says she will not be contesting the presidential election this year. She's told the Irish Times she will not be seeking the Fine Gael nomination to replace Michael D. Higgins. She said she had discussed the possibility with Fine Gael leader Simon Harris and has been approached by many people. Frances Fitzgerald says the reasons behind her decision included in assessing the current political landscape and whether it was the right time for her personally. Finally, for weather, today will be mainly dry with bright or sunny spells and a few light showers. Highest temperatures of 14 or 15 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
The autopilot order. Noun. Informal. A strong urge felt at the ordering kiosk or drive-thru that takes over the entire body and mind and results in a person ordering a Big Mac without even having to think. Related phrases include, looks like I've ordered a Big Mac again. The autopilot order. At McDonald's. From 11 a.m, subject to availability.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. It's 3.5 minutes past 9 on this Wednesday, the 23rd of April. How are you all keeping? I do hope you're very well indeed. We're broadcasting, of course, here from the northwest of Ireland, and it's a beautiful sunny morning, nice and bright, and not too chilly too. It just does tend to put a little bit of a spring in one step, doesn't it? Anyway, I hope you have a great day, and I hope you spend much of it with us here at Highland Radio. Over the next 3 hours, we've got all the usual mix here. We're going to be covering the big issues of the day, of course. We've got interviews, platforming, community fundraisers, people in the community, all that, the usual mix. And your views and comments, critical to all of that, of course. 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number. And don't forget, if you want to send in WhatsApp voice notes, feel free to do so too, whether it's a request or a comment or an issue you wish to raise. We love getting them. We can play them out as well. 086 60 25,000, or maybe it's a better way for you to communicate. You can also give us a call here on 07491 25,000. The steady hand on the tiller, of course, Caroline Orr researching and producing, and Shannon Wilkins working on the show very hard as well. Emails, comments at highlandradio.com. Watch the show if you want on our YouTube channel at home, on your smart TV or your Fire Stick, Highland Radio Ireland, or across our Facebook pages and on the X platform. Let's have a look at some of the newspapers today. We'll start off with the local out today, Finn Valley Voice. One of Donegal's most important ambassadors, Lottie the doll, is waiting to find out if she's invited to the United States this Christmas. Lottie, coming from a product line that consciously avoids the unhealthy sexualization practiced by her rivals, is eagerly sought out by American parents as Christmas presents. The American markets account for 70% of all Lottie sales, but the Christmas ordering season is upon us, and Lottie needs to get her invitation pretty soon, and her prospects are shrinking, says Lottie entrepreneur Ian Harkin. And we spoke to Ian Harkin the day Donald Trump announced his tariffs. The complication for them is that they produce these dolls in China, and the United States has imposed very heavy tariffs on China. But funny, and this is how quick things can move, still a really important article, and you can read that in the Finn Valley Voice, but there's been a bit of a rollback from the US administration listening to some of Donald Trump's commentary overnight. He has sort of suggested that he's going to drop the China tariffs, not because China have agreed to anything that he wants them to agree to, but the American economy is going down the toilet. Inflation is on the way up. And income is, the bond markets are unstable, the share markets are unstable, and he's going to voluntarily drop the tariffs on China, which is good news, I would hope, for the likes of Lottie Dolls and others. Powell, too, he was putting pressure on him, saying he should be sacked to drop the interest rates over there. Now he's endorsing Mr. Powell and saying that he's not going to get sacked. Elon Musk is committed to pull back from Doge, the Department of Government Excess, is it, or expenditure, because Tesla stocks, their earnings, down 70%. Their stocks are still down, and it's all sort of kind of changing, not because China or Europe or anyone else is backing down. It's because they're having to roll back on some of the decisions that they made. So he's Donald Trump separating himself from Mr. Powell so that the American economy seems somewhat independent from him. Elon Musk pulling out to a great extent, and also Donald Trump committing to dropping tariffs, even though he really hasn't won anything in terms of tariffs. So it's all change, and it changes really, really quickly. Let's start with the Irish Times in terms of the national newspapers, and the same picture is on the front of or inside all of the papers, and it's Pope Francis lying in rest. World leaders will gather in Rome on Saturday for the funeral of Pope Francis. The Vatican has confirmed as tributes to the late pontiff continued worldwide. The Pope's body will lie in state in St. Peter's Basilica for the next 3 days, where thousands of Catholics are expected to pay their respects. I'm sure people from other religions as well. Meanwhile, preparations for Saturday's funeral, including a big security operation around the Vatican, were getting underway as the world's media arrived in Rome in advance on the week's events, and the papal conclave to select the next pope, which will follow. US President Donald Trump, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky were among the many world leaders who said they would attend Saturday's funeral. The Republic will be represented by President Michael D. Higgins and his wife Sabrina, accompanied by Taoiseach Micheál Martin and Taoiseach Simon Harris. The government confirmed that flags will be flown at half-mast over public buildings on Saturday to mark the sombre occasion. And if you didn't listen to yesterday's show, by the way, a lot of interesting conversation in relation to the passing of Pope Francis, local people sharing their memories of meeting him, and a very interesting conversation in the third part of the podcast, if you want to tune into that, with Dr. Joe Kelly, where he discusses what is next in terms of the selection of a new pope and a little bit of a history to former popes and the church in general. So if you missed that yesterday, some of you tune out after 11, I'm sure, as some of you tune in. That's available on our podcast on our website, and it's in the last hour we speak to Dr. Kelly. Just a heartbreaking story. I'm not sure, it would be heartbreaking in any case, but I suppose those of us with young children, you kind of sort of think, there, but for the grace of God, go I. It's a terribly sad story from the Irish Independent. A young boy who died after being hit by a car in a housing estate had celebrated his 4th birthday over the Easter weekend. The child has been named locally as Abdur Rahman. The fatal collision happened in Mullingar in County Westmeath shortly after 6 p.m. on Monday. He was treated at the scene before being taken by ambulance to Mullingar Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Yesterday morning, Garda forensic collision investigators towed away the car suspected to have been involved in the incident. An extensive Garda investigation, which is now underway in an attempt to establish the cause of the tragedy. A Garda cordon has since been lifted, with Garda eager to speak to any road users in the area or pedestrians who may have been in the area at the time of the incident. They're looking for the dash cam footage and usual stuff, of course, to our listenership. Very unlikely to have any information. But the young lad had just celebrated his birthday. I don't think he had opened all his presents, and he was out on a scooter when the incident happened. And it's just absolutely heartbreaking to read that story. The Irish Daily Mail this morning on housing. Surging house prices could rise even more if plans to extend first-time buyers' grants are followed through on, finance officials have warned. Internal briefing documents prepared for Finance Minister Paschal Donohoe obtained by the Irish Daily Mail caution that extending grants to second-hand homes, which has since been provided for in the programme for government, represents an additional upside risk to prices. The Help to Buy and First home schemes, which only apply to newly built properties, are widely agreed by experts, including the ESRI and Central Bank, to have driven up house prices. And there's lots of factors, lots of pressure, because, you know, if there are grants available for vacant or derelict properties, I'm sure builders factor that in. If there's grants or money available to replace defective concrete homes, it's factored in. If people know that there's more spending power with government support to buy people's first homes, that's factored in house prices. And whilst it's designed, much of this is designed to help people, it does put pressure because not enough houses are being built. So there's an upward pressure on those that are being built. So I wouldn't have to be a financial expert to understand why house prices are continuing to rise. What's needed is just more houses to be built, maybe the state to build more of those houses to take the pressure off the market rather than giving those with money, extra money to buy houses. I'm not saying that scheme shouldn't happen. I'm just saying we should know the consequences of that. The Irish Daily Star this morning, and following on from our conversation during the Community Garda information, this story did catch my eye. Nearly 150 motorists were arrested by Gardaí over the Easter bank holiday weekend for driving under the influence, it's been revealed. Since Thursday, there's been an extensive Garda roads policing operation which ended yesterday morning at 7 a.m. As part of the extensive operation, more than 912 mandatory intoxicant testing checkpoints were carried out. Over 4,500 breath tests, 213 oral fluid tests were performed, which led to, and this is the figure I found interesting, 149 arrests for driving under the influence of an intoxicant, drug or drink. Now, we learnt yesterday 16 of those were in County Donegal, which represents in excess of 10%. Now, I presume these are full national figures as they've been printed in a national newspaper. Isn't it quite remarkable that County Donegal, one of 26 counties, would account for in excess of 10% of those found to be under the influence of drink and drugs? What does that say? Or does that mean Gardaí are more active here? Does that mean we're more inclined to drive under the influence in Donegal? It's not a really good figure to be looking at. Over 10% of the published detections were in County Donegal, 16 from 149. That is, what is it, about 11.2%, something along those lines? Kind of worrying. Reading in the Irish Daily, in the Irish Sun today, Gardaí have searched a mobile home in Donegal owned by child sex offence suspect Father Edward Gallagher. This is part of their investigation. He appeared before a special sitting of Derry Magistrates Court, charged that on dates between April 2nd and 17, 2025, he attempted sexual communication with a child the nature of those allegations somewhat outlined in the video, which I'm sure many of you have watched. The 58-year-old cleric was suspended from his post in the Derry Diocese after he was charged. He is the curate for the Camusclonlee and Lechpatrick parishes, which includes St. Patrick's Church in Murlog Lifford, where he is the regular celebrant. His arrest and charge occurred last week on foot of a number of allegations put to him. He has subsequently appeared in court. The priest, with an address at Orchard Park in Lifford, spoke only to confirm his identity and that he understood the charges. No application for bail was made, with the case being adjourned until May. Following the arrest, cops visited a mobile home in Buncrana on the Inishowen Peninsula owned by the priest. The Garda Press office was contacted for a reaction to the development. However, a spokesperson said they do not comment on inquiries which may relate to an ongoing investigation. They don't respond to queries either, sort of as it relates to a named individual. So there you are. That is a both sides of the border investigation now, clearly. At least 26 Palestinians have been killed, including 11 believed burned to death in Israel attacks on Gaza. The brutality, the tragedy continues for the people of Gaza. This reported in the Irish Daily Mirror. Bodies were pulled out of the rubble of a housing complex in the southern city of Khan Yunis after an assault which killed 9, including a 2-year-old girl. Her grandfather, Awad Dablis, said they had nothing to do with anything. What is the fault of this innocent child? It's not known if the 11 who reportedly burned to death included the 9 in the multi-storey home. Gaza's health ministry said a number of victims remain under the rubble and on the roads, unable to be reached by ambulances and civil defence crews. Yesterday's pre-dawn strikes also hit a local authority building with a garage containing 9 bulldozers provided by Egypt and Qatar during the recent ceasefire to help the clearing and rebuilding. So even the machinery being gifted into Gaza to help make it somewhat livable is targeted now, or at least is collateral damage of their targets, or however they may choose to phrase it. Palestinian officials say at least 51,266 people have been killed in the response to the death of 1,200 people who were killed when Hamas-led militants invaded Israel on October 7th, 2023. That seems like a long time ago, but every day since, the people of Gaza have been pummeled by neighbouring Israel. Okay, that was a run through some of the newspaper stories this morning.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till Noon show was brought to you in association with Remind. This super strength omega-3 supplement delivers 900 milligrams of omega-3s, plus key carotenoids, backed by science to support brain function and vision. Try Remind today.
Who's watching your home while you're asleep, at work, or on holiday? With the Sheridan Security Alarm System, you can be assured of round-the-clock monitoring. Our central monitoring station is on duty 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, monitoring homes and businesses in the northwest for intruder, fire, panic, and medical signals, giving you the peace of mind you deserve. Sheridan Security Systems, Bonagee, Letterkenny, protecting what you value most. Call us for a free quotation on 9126. 6025.
Introducing PD Bathrooms and Tiles Lock It Down Price Guarantee. Pay just a 20% deposit and we lock in your quoted price for a full year, no matter what happens with inflation. Plan your dream bathroom with confidence, choosing from a huge range of quality suites, tiles and accessories from top brands. Visit our showroom at Lisfannon Industrial Estate, Buncrana, or call 074 9395 884. PD Bathrooms and Tiles. Prices locked, worries gone. Some terms apply.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is?
It is 18 minutes past 9. We're joined on the programme now by the Donegal Central Executive Committee representative with the INTO, Anya McGinley. Anya, good morning to you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Good morning, Greg. It's great to be on the show. Thanks very much.
Now, the INTO Annual Congress is underway in Galway. What's the general mood before we get into some specifics amongst teachers?
I suppose our members are energised. They're very engaged. There's great debate happening. it's been a wonderful congress so far. We're on day 3 here now. This is our final day. We listened with great interest, I suppose, to what Minister McEntee had to say to us yesterday. But it's been a fantastic congress so far. Our members are really energised and engaging well.
One of the resolutions passed was highlighting growing concern over the unsustainable workload facing school principals across the country. What's the lived reality?
The lived reality is complete burnout. Our members are very exercised about this. It is an issue that we have been debating at Congress, unfortunately, for a number of years now. The lack of supports really for school leaders. We've been calling for additional post responsibility to help ease the burden on school principals so that they can delegate tasks. Literal overburdened system and complete burnout is coming up time and time again, and our members are really just exhausted at this stage. Between lack of supports for school leaders and lack of funding, it's been a difficult situation for a lot of our school leaders. And in fact, we noticed that a number of people are actually just not applying for school leadership positions for these particular reasons.
And what are the solutions being proffered by the INTO into this? What would make the situation better?
Well, increased investment would be the first key. Whenever we did a survey there recently of our school leaders, and one of the top 3 issues that cause of workload concerns for our members is actually class size. And we've been calling for a reduction of class size for years. But for the last 2 years, the government haven't reduced the class size at primary level at all. Now, I know in the programme for government, they have absolutely agreed to do that over the next 4 years. But while the EU, we're still among the highest EU average. But in Ireland, the class size average is 23 pupils, and we need that reduced to 19.
And there has been a commitment, hasn't there, to fast track student teachers into permanent contracts. I mean, I speak to people all of the time, as you do too, and they've just qualified as a teacher, for an example, and you think, okay, brilliant. We need teachers. Take your pick of full-time jobs, but it doesn't work like that. Are you encouraged by the commitment from government to fast track newly qualified teachers, or is it we'll believe it when we see it?
No, we're encouraged certainly by the commitment there. It's 1 year less that the teachers will get a permanent contract given, provided that there is a viable contract for them for the following year. So it will get people a permanent job quicker. But that's only one of a number of measures that's going to be needed to fill these posts. We need to encourage more people into the profession. So a number of initial teacher education places needs to be increased. We need more post responsibility so that the teachers who are teaching in the likes of Dubai and Saudi Arabia, that they'll be actually encouraged to come home because they're getting post responsibility abroad, but there isn't that incentive for them to come back. So we need to incentivise the profession. Certainly would be, and that post responsibility would be a huge thing for us.
And pardon my ignorance, maybe you've actually referenced this. Is there still an issue where their career progression is not recognised here in Ireland? So if you go over there and work very well for 2 to 3 years, you come back, you're at square one effectively. That doesn't really make any sense. We should be saying, right, brilliant, you can come home now, and you're probably actually even more rounded than you would be now if you'd never left.
Exactly, Greg, and that's actually one of the lists of things that we've given to the department to actually say we need to incentivise them and reward them for that service that they've had abroad, because they're bringing back experience that they're not being rewarded for if and when they do come back to us.
There's lots going on that's interesting, but of course, parents listening might have a particular interest in the majority of primary school teachers being of the view that families or parishes should be responsible for preparing children for sacraments of communion and confirmation. Is this about a separation of school and religion, or is this about workload and maybe time, that could be spent elsewhere, being spent on these matters? Or what do you think the reasons behind these opinions are?
I think it's probably a combination of all of this. Whenever we surveyed our members from a Congress motion actually last year, we found the exact same information as what the census data told us, that that the families need more of a choice with regards to patronage or not non-religious schools. But I think probably it's not a case that we don't want to teach religion. It's just a case that our curriculum is completely overburdened. Our staff are completely overburdened, and it's more a case that we need to concentrate on curriculum and moving things forward like that. I mean, we're not shirking our responsibility in terms of not wanting to teach religion, but it's just our curriculum is so heavily overburdened at the moment that something has to give.
Yeah, but there is also a sense amongst 2/3 of teachers that primary schools should be secular as opposed to having religious patrons. So that talks a little bit more to the ethos, doesn't it, than the workload.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what I can't expect you to get into the minds of 1,000 teachers, right? But what do you think? Why do you think teachers feel that way?
I just think, I suppose, our schools have changed over the last number of years. We've got we're children coming from all different parts of the world because of war-torn situations, and I think we've just got to move with the times.
Yeah. What has jumped out for you? I've just picked a few things that I thought of interest, but I mean, you're down there and you know the hot topics and what's vexing teachers. What else has been up for discussion of note?
Actually, just at the moment, the first motion this morning has been on the need to enact the reproductive health leave bill from 2021. I know that Senator Ivana Bacik brought that forward, and we were making great progress with that until the government decided last year to postpone it for 12 months, which basically leaves it to the next government, which is this current government now, to enact. Because we noticed that, and I know a lot of my own members in Donegal and Leitrim would have contacted me about this, whether a teacher has gone through early pregnancy loss or whether they're going through fertility treatments, they're having to either take unpaid leave or sick leave, or indeed actually turn up to school going through that bereavement or going through that difficult time. So we're trying to make sure now and put pressure on the government to enact that legislation so that there would be up to 20 days of bereavement or of leave for a teacher who's gone through early pregnancy loss, because at the moment they can only avail of it if they're after 24 weeks of pregnancy, or it would be up to 10 days of leave for reproductive health.
Yeah.
So that the teachers have time to deal with their current situations. That's one that's been debated there this morning.
And I imagine teachers will vote unanimously in favour of that as well, because it makes a lot of sense. And it's a conversation that's happening right across sort of, workplaces, not exclusively teachers, of course. It's one thing maybe having a minister that understands the issues, but you don't want them nodding along with you going, yeah, this is terrible, right? You want them to sort of be solution focused and sort of to take on board what you're saying and saying, right, okay, maybe now is the opportunity for change. Do you get that impression from the current minister?
She was very engaging with us yesterday, I have to give her that. And she, as you say, was very cognizant of the issues that we have. She has committed to putting in a therapies in schools project together, which is something that we've been absolutely calling for years. We need those services coming into schools where the children are, because the children who are losing out most are the children with special educational needs. The list is endless with regards to the issues there. But that therapies in schools project, hopefully, as I say, she's committed to it, but hopefully it'll be underway very, very soon. That's something that we've been calling for, and it will make life a lot easier, and it will help those children with special needs to get the support that they so rightly deserve and they so much need.
Yeah, and it's about funding too and resources, isn't it? I mean, it's such an important part of our lives. In the primary school, it sets us up because you're on a journey now, and that journey starts in Nina often or preschool now, and carries on through. I think we're more organised. It's an entire process. So anywhere that we drop the ball, all children don't get equal sort of resources and attention, or extra resources or attention where needed. Like, we're failing children really, and of course then we're failing teachers, because teachers are in the classroom, and you guys see the actual impact on our young people when things aren't being done correctly. And it's really important, I think, that your voices are listened to, because you see what we don't see as parents. We've a great deal of trust in teachers, and rightly so, it's earned.
Absolutely. And I suppose we've been calling out the lack of government support for schools for years, and the lack of funding. And as you mentioned funding there, Greg, it's been highlighted by our union members over and over again, and in particular at this Congress, where a child in primary level is worth, in inverted commas, €283. But once they go to second level, it's well over €300. And how is a child in 6th class in June worth 283, yet once they start first year in September, they're worth so much more? The capitation at primary has got to be increased. The funding at primary level has to be increased. As you say, it's about starting off at primary level, give them a strong education. Education is the way forward to have a strong and healthy country, really. And it's so important, but it's just our members are at breaking point at this stage.
And of course, often it's parents have to fill the gap there as well too. And I'm sure schools think, we can't go back to the parents again, can we? Just back to, go ahead.
This is the thing that the government have told us as well, that they don't want parents having to foot the bill, but yet schools literally can't afford to pay their bills at the moment. The cost of electricity, the cost of insurance is skyrocketing, but yet schools aren't being given enough money to actually run their schools. So we're having to do fundraisers still, which we don't like to do. And I suppose by doing that, we're also letting the government away with not taking up their own responsibility.
Yeah, I think if you were dropped into Ireland from space and you were told that, schools are given a certain amount of money and that money doesn't cover the basics, right? You would go, well, seriously, but sure, the state is responsible for funding the basics, surely. Just back to the religion side of things, if you don't mind. Just a few people are very interested in this. Again, I mean, is it that the school population is getting more and more diverse and it's more complicated to teach Catholicism, say, for instance, as an example? Is that the root cause of this? I think you talked about more diversity. That there are children coming into schools from different backgrounds. Why would that be why would that be a reason for more secular schools and go ahead? Sorry, Anya, I hope I haven't misquoted you.
No, you're okay. No, I wouldn't have said it's harder to teach Catholicism because there are other children
or
from
any
other
religion.
faiths. I think we have to acknowledge other faiths in the schools, because at the end of the day, I believe that if you're teaching Catholicism, you're teaching it by the way you live as well. So it's the way we treat other people. It's a Christian values. I don't think that people are saying by any means that you can't teach religion because there's children from other faiths there. I just think we have to be cognizant that there are children from other faiths.
So it's about being more considerate as opposed to it being more complicated, as I say.
Absolutely, yeah.
I wanted to ask you that whilst you were on, so I didn't misframe it, so I am pleased that I did. Okay, Anya, thank you very much indeed. I'll let you get back, obviously. When does matters conclude down there? Today's the last day in Galway, is it not?
It is indeed, yeah. So about 3:00 this afternoon.
All right, safe home. Thank you very much indeed. Anya McGinley, Donegal Central Executive Committee representative with the INTO. The removal of sacrament preparation from schools is disgraceful, says a listener. Why are teachers leading this in Catholic ethos schools? Shame on our teachers, says a listener. Well, it's not all. 1,000 teachers were surveyed, 2/3 believe that. So let's not, throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's the opinion of a sample of teachers. In some jobs, you can take a leave of absence. You get 4 or 5 years off. They go away to another country. You aren't supposed to take this leave if it will affect the service. Have we got any figures to show how many teachers are on leave working in other countries? When I worked in the health board, we weren't allowed to take leave if there was no one to cover. That's just some of them that are coming in. Greg, could we encourage people to fly the papal flag at half-mast as a mark of respect to our Pope? Let's see how many public buildings will show respect to our Catholic leader in our Catholic country by flying it at half-mast. Spain has 3 days of mourning. I don't see Ireland doing anything. Well, the flags are being lowered. A diktat from the government suggesting so. Greg, I'm trying to understand how there's so much hype on the death and funeral of Pope Francis, and 40,000 civilians, including 15,000 children, were murdered, and all main media keep their head down with a lot agreeing with this slaughter. I believe it's in excess of 50,000. It's 51,000 people. I presume you're referencing the Middle East. There are significant people in this world. Donald Trump, whoever happens to be the president of America at any given time, the head of the Roman Catholic Church, the leader of China. There are a small Vladimir Putin might be among them. There are a small number of people that are very, very significant in the world. And the way the news has traditionally worked, whether it'll continue to be this case or not, is there's a massive amount of interest, public interest. Some people in the general population have to give their minds a break from the terrible situation in the Middle East. They can't continue to focus on it because then they can't they have to raise their children, pay their mortgage, live in a defective concrete block home. The truth is it's never going to be ever present. The news will move on even as the tragedy continues. It's terrible. It is absolutely terrible. But if you were to have the Daily Star newspaper, for an example, and you were to put the Gaza situation on the front of that paper every day, in about 10, 15 days, you would start seeing your circulation decrease. This is just the reality of it. But you stick on the front page the information about the Pope or whatever is just breaking at that time, people will go into the newsagents and pick the paper up. So whilst the media has a responsibility as well, the public too have a role to play in this and what they're interested in. And even on our own website, you can go into the back end and click on the stories that people are interested in. We don't tailor our news in that regard. We just put our news out as we put our news out. But you could, and it would alter. It would alter sort of the news stories that are carried on a website like ours. But as I say, we don't. We cover all stories and put them on. But I get where you're coming from. But it's just not reality that, as tragic as the situation in the Middle East is that it's going to be headline news all of the time. Because even when we were talking about it as it was raging and continues to rage, people were saying, is there nothing else going on? That's very heavy. Do we have to keep listening about this? I'm not talking about any editorial policies here. I'm talking about the reality sort of media and our consumption of it. And it is also very importantly about people's consumption of such. Okay, back after this break. Any comments in relation to that? As I say, I'm just spitballing in my head here. As I say, I'm not speaking on behalf of Highland or the editorial policy. It's just an observation as a media consumer that I'm making there.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you in association with Remind, packed with high-strength omega-3s and carefully selected carotenoids to support your eye and brain health. Available at all Healthwise pharmacies.
Home Store and More? Get your garden ready for summer galore with solar lights, trellis and garden decor. Find furniture and barbecues and so much more. Smile as you walk through our door. More choice and more savings we're famous for. So come and discover your favorite things.
Home Store and More. A happy home.
Renovating or rebuilding? Struggling to find the perfect tiles? McCafferty's Tiles Balbuffet has you covered. We've got stunning large format and designer tiles, expert installations, and even a free design consultation in our showrooms or at your site. Call McCafferty Tiles on 086 242 3604 or find us on socials. Showroom by appointment.
At My Home, we hate complicated. That's why our new app now offers a great range of features like our enhanced map search, access to My Home Eco Rating, as well as our all-important property email alerts, which means you have everything you need to find your new home right in the palm of your hand. Download the new My Home app today.
Spring is here, and so are the new arrivals at Green Shoes. Shop in store or online from best-selling brands like Doc Martens, Birkenstock and Wonders. Also Riker, Echo, Bugatti and many more. Shop LK and One for All gift cards accepted in store. Visit Green Shoes and discover the perfect footwear to complement your style. Green Shoes at Market Square, Letterkenny Shopping Centre, Fulcara and online at greenshoes.com.
Attention all animal lovers. Looking for quality, affordable veterinary care? Northwest Vets is now open for small animals in Burt. They are proudly local and independently owned. With over 60 years combined experience, they'll treat your pets like family. Book now and save 10% on small animal surgeries this April at Northwest Vets, Burt's premier veterinary clinic.
And you're very welcome back to the programme. Morning, Greg. Was on the show a few weeks ago talking about the price of house insurance. It went from €300 to €600. I did price around as I wanted to stay local, so I did get €80 cheaper with another company. I went back to my old company, but they wouldn't match it, so I went with the new company. So that was the end result. Thanks, Greg. Thank you. So did you get it? I'm always full of questions here. Did you get it for $520? You hardly got it for $220, so you got it down to $520 from $6. Listen, that €80 better in your pocket than theirs. Thanks for the update there. It's confidential shredding time again on Friday, the 25th of April at the Letterkenny Shopping Centre in association with United Shredding Company and the Letterkenny Rotary Club, and all for just a donation to the Donegal Down Syndrome Association. As usual, the USL unit will be situated on the right-hand side of the car park near the entrance from 10:30am to midday. So you just come along, and members of the Rotary Club will also be on standby to assist if needed. I'm joined on the programme now by Joe Lochnane. Good morning, Joe. How are you keeping?
Morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for speaking to us. I wish we weren't speaking in this context, but we have to. I'm sorry for the loss of your brother, Adam.
Yes.
Talk to me about it's your story, isn't it? And it's Adam's story, I suppose. So where do you want to start with it?
I suppose the best thing to start with is what happened 9 weeks ago now, just over 2 months ago, when on Tuesday, the 11th of February, he woke up in a bad state. He was feeling numb. He contacted his mental health support worker and he told her that he needed help. And within an hour or so, him and his support worker had presented at the emergency department in University Hospital Galway, where he had presented as suicidal. He said to them, both the reception staff, triage nurse, various staff in there, that he wanted to enter the river Corrib, that is, which is just down from University Hospital Galway. And sadly, he wasn't really believed in that regard. He was made to wait in the waiting room with everybody else who's just waiting in the general A&E waiting room, and he waited there for about an hour and a half there, Greg.
Yeah, and what strikes me about this is, firstly, the fact that he reached out and sought support. He knew where he was at. That's what we tell people. He presented looking for help. But, we triage people in the EDs. So, say, for instance, University Hospital Galway is the same as our local hospital here. If you go in with a physical ailment, if you present with a suspected stroke, or if you present with a twisted knee, you are fast-tracked through to get into the stroke unit, to get that emergency care, because your life is in peril, your life is in danger.
Yes.
The thought that someone with a mental illness with the same situation, the life is in peril, the life is in danger, is not treated as an acute emergency or fast-tracked. It's very, very, very worrying.
Greg, that's the part I think that's left us at our most kind of desperate over the last while, is that had, as you said there, that being a cardiac arrest or some sort of emergency, on a physical health emergency, he would definitely either still be alive now or he would have passed because of that emergency, but he would have got the care. And as you said there, in reaching out, Adam packed a bag before he left his apartment that afternoon to go to the hospital. He put a pair of socks and a pair of pajamas in it. He genuinely was of the opinion and of the belief that he was handing himself over to the hospital there, essentially. He was saying to them, look, I can't look after myself. I need to be sectioned, because this is something that had been done to him before, about 8 years previous, in the very same hospital. So they knew exactly that this was somebody who wasn't. It wasn't something new. It was a problem that he'd been dealing with in the past. Yet still, he was made to wait. In more recent days, Greg, we've been told by the hospital that they used. There's a system in Ireland, the triage system. It's called the Manchester triage system, and there's different categories in that. And Adam was deemed a category 2. Now, they told us what that means is he needs to be seen within 10 minutes. Now, they admitted to me that because of the understaffing and the under-resourcing of hospitals, especially University Hospital Galway, and I know people in Donegal know that hospital well, across the whole of the west of Ireland, everybody goes to that main hospital. It serves quite a lot of people in the north and in the west. Adam went there of the belief that, when he was seen, that when they were categorizing him as a level 2, that he would be seen within 10 minutes. The hospital said they couldn't see him, and very often they don't meet those timelines. But that he was waiting for an hour and a half, and that we've been told as well by a young woman that was in the same waiting room, we've been public about this, that she saw him crying and in distress. And it's not often, Greg, that you see a man in his 30s crying and, you know, blubbering and whimpering to himself in a public area like that. You don't see it that often because young men full stop, we're not encouraged to show our emotions. We don't. So if a man like this was doing that, he couldn't be more obvious to open up to the world around him to say, I'm at my lowest here, I'm at my most vulnerable, I need help. And even that young woman who had her own mental health problems could see that, hugged him, sat with him. But when he walked out, she didn't know that that was him walking away. And from the timeline and what we looked at, it was about 10 minutes after he walked out of the A&E, Greg, that he was in the River Guard.
Recent report published on mental health services, and I'll just bring it back closer to the Northwest for a moment, if you don't mind. Letterkenny University Hospital was found to have a huge disconnect between the emergency department and mental health services. The report from the Mental Health Commission revealed that there is a distinct disparity in how mental health patients are treated in the ED. The report shows the need to increase the range of acute mental health services nationally, which would include your hospital, of course, to improve urgent access and quality of unscheduled mental health care. The Commission found that Letterkenny University Hospital's ED doesn't have an established process for identifying mental health patients who require further care. Now, the Manchester Protocol is employed in Galway. I'm not sure if that's present in Letterkenny University Hospital. That language there would indicate it's not. But that report came in between Adam's passing and this conversation. It's the problem is recognised, if you know what I mean. But what you're doing is you're actually giving a voice, a face, and a person to that story. So in other words, the failures there impacted Adam.
Yes.
You know what I mean. So
yeah, they did.
They're recognizing there is an issue. We have lost Adam, and we don't know how many others. Your family's brave to speak out in this regard, particularly, and I think it's so critical, particularly so soon after your devastating loss. So we know the problems, we know what can happen, we know the loss of life and the devastation. What's going to happen next? And unfortunately, this is where these stories tend to run out of steam. We get a report, we hear the impacts of the negative elements of mental health services, and then we run for another 4 or 5 or 6 years. And how many more Adams do we lose in the interim?
Yes, I agree, Rick. I agree. And I think the big part of us going public with Adam's story has been the large amount of people to contact us with loved ones or of their own situation. And this is going back 10, 20, 30 years where they've lost people through suicide in not just University Hospital Galway, every hospital, every healthcare facility in the country. I think when people see what we were saying about Adam, what Adam had to go through, they felt the courage to be able to tell us that. And they felt the courage to be able to say to us, look, can you share our story too? We've sent a lot of this correspondence in the last 2 months to both the Minister for Health and the Minister of State for Mental Health. We've made it clear to them, look, this is not an isolated case. This has happened before. Sadly, it's happened again since. We've also been contacted by people in Limerick where it's happened in the last couple of weeks, where a young man was led out of the A&E department, entered the river, but thank God he was saved by the RNLI just in time. For us, and the reason we went public, Greg, and this is the big thing, is we don't want Adam's name to just be that. Do you know what I mean? Adam died and that was it. He died with his problems and no one ever cared. We want his name to be associated with change. And that means, sadly, that grieving part, which a lot of families get to do in those weeks and months, I haven't been able to do that, Greg. I just said, no, there's no time for this. Because if I don't do it, Adam's story will be completely forgotten about. And not just young people, but a lot of young men, especially like Adam, in that age group. I know, Greg, I'm 38. I'm just out of that age group. That 25 to 35-year-old, there's a huge amount of those young men of all nationalities, of all backgrounds, it doesn't matter where they're from, who are dying by suicide. And Adam was, I know because I was with him the weeks beforehand. I took him out for drinks for his birthday just a month before he died. I was with him for coffee a week before he passed. I could see there were problems, but I could also see a young man who was trying to reach out. He was trying to navigate a complex myriad of avenues of how to get counselling, how to get a mental health support worker, how to get some sort, even a bed for a place in the psych ward or the mental health unit. He was a highly intelligent man, so he was able to work out most of these things. But ultimately, when he was at his most vulnerable, when he was in that emergency situation, as you said there, that report confirms that there is no other avenue. If you are in that emergency situation, you have to go to an A&E in your main hospital. And that is where the failure starts. That's where for me, where the loss of life begins. Why we've spoken out, why we've launched a petition against it, is we're saying there has to be an alternative there. You can't expect people who are at their lowest, who are dealing with pure demons in their head, to sit in a room which is loud, probably full of kids who might have a sick, or might be cold, full of somebody who might have been out the night before, who's broken their ankle, full of somebody who's got somebody's got a chest infection, and you're sitting there seeing these people with their visible problems, feeling like a burden, and you're being told you just have to wait. You have to wait. Of course, you walked away.
This is, well, it's purposely emotive because you've included in your story, and I think it's very important too that people understand. Adam left that hospital, obviously desperate. He entered the river and passed away. He was back in that hospital very shortly afterwards, and you and his family were there. His life extinguished, him lost to you guys in the very same place he walked out of because he felt like he couldn't get any assistance. And I think very fairly to the family too. You've not pointed the finger at individuals or the family. It's the system that you're talking of. But that's going to take some processing that he ended up back there. But unfortunately, It was too late.
3 hours, Greg. That was a 3 hour timeline. He walked into the hospital at 2 o'clock. He walked out of the hospital around 4 o'clock. He was pulled out of the river around 10 to 5 and brought back to the hospital just after 5 o'clock. And then I went in to identify his body at 6 o'clock that evening.
How can people... Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
It was the only reason we know that, Greg, is a doctor pulled us aside as we were walking out of the waiting room, out of the A&E after we identified him, to say, look, your brother was in this hospital only a couple of hours earlier telling us that he wanted to enter the river. And that's when we decided to go public. Once they told us that he'd been in there, telling them what he wanted to do and that he'd done it, we felt it was necessary to go public then.
How do people support the petition, the campaign, in for your family, to support your family, to support their own families? And just before you say that, because of the position I have here, and I'm pretty accessible through Facebook and stuff, families contact me and after someone's passed, and it's not always publicly known that someone died through suicide, right? It's just we haven't really sorted all that out yet, be it a single vehicle collision, sudden death. Some families choose to speak publicly, others, but they do speak to me privately, and it does come up relatively regularly, unfortunately, that they did go to a hospital and a day later. It's not always the case as it was so quick with Adam. Which is so. In other words, this is a problem that because it's suicide and we struggle to talk about it and we don't know how to say the word and we don't know the numbers, right?
No.
And there is some work going on amongst coroners to try and tidy this area up so we can get a real sense of what's going on. As terrible as that is, but we need to know. But with all that in mind, Joe, how do people support you guys in Adam's name?
Yeah, we've launched a petition with Uplift, and it's called Adam's Protocols. Someone who is suicidal shouldn't have to go through A&E. It's got about 15,000 signatures so far. I did an analysis of the signatures. A lot have come from Galway and some of the big cities. It would be great to see more people from across Donegal, because a lot of the stories I'm getting sent directly from people are from people in Donegal talking about the Letterkenny Hospital there and smaller healthcare facilities around the county. That petition, we're using that as the platform to speak to the Minister for Health and the Minister of State for Mental Health. It's specifically calling for two things. Number one, an alternative to A&E. For us, there has to be admission units in the hospitals separate from the A&E. If we were to drill down on that, what we're saying is the psych wards or mental health units should have a general admission part where if you're suicidal or in a mental health crisis, you walk through there. I think that's standard. That's basic. It's something that used to be done in the past. And secondly, and this directly relates to Adam, Adam should have been secured and monitored, and his health records should have been referenced when he presented as suicidal. We don't believe any of those things were done, because if his health records were referenced, it would have shown that he'd done something like this before, which means he would have been secured and monitored. those are kind of the basic demands in that petition. Like I said, it's getting great support. We're going out into the streets now and onto the roads and talking to people face to face in the next couple of weeks, trying to build it up as well. Any support we can get would be great, because as we said, if this doesn't change, we won't be the last family speaking about this.
No. And
it has to change now.
Yeah.
It has to change now.
All right. And people go to Uplift, is it? And the petition is there.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Joe, look after yourself. You know, when you've been very busy since, and I think you referenced a little earlier on, maybe you haven't sat down, but so you look after yourself as well.
Thanks, Greg.
You're doing sterling work. Thanks very much, and love to all the family, all right? And I'm so sorry you lost Adam. I really am, but you've done him proud today, and you are doing him proud. You know that anyway. You don't need me to tell you that. Thanks very much. All right, take care of yourself. Bye-bye. You can contact Pieta House, by the way, on 1-800-247-247. The Samaritans are contactable on 1-800-666666. The teen line is there for you, 1890 927 277. We have to highlight where there are failings and gaps. And even in Adam's case, of course, he did seek assistance, but the system failed him. It doesn't always work like that. So if you are moved by that, if that has affected you in any way, please don't be afraid to reach out. There is great help and support there. The Gardaí are there as well, 999 112. A lot of people don't realise that they are in emergency services, even in a mental health crisis. But we have to also platform where change is needed. You can go on to Uplift. There's a Justice for Adam and a Justice for many other people affected by that on that website and on their socials.
The 9 till Noon Show was brought to you in association with Remind. This super strength omega-3 supplement delivers 900 milligrams of omega-3s, plus key carotenoids, backed by science to support brain function and vision. Try Remind today.
Drama at Angrinan Theatre with the loved ones on Tuesday, April 29th.
In a remote farmhouse, Nell prepares to scatter her son's ashes with her grieving daughter-in-law, while a visitor settles in for an idyllic break in the wilds of West Clare. However, their weekend plans will be disrupted when an unexpected guest arrives looking for shelter, solace and understanding. A situation as unlikely as it is inevitable will send these 4 lives reeling, leaving them questioning the true nature of love, loss and birds.
Tickets available from the box office or at angrinan.com.
Want a new car? Think Kia. Call Heron Auto Donegal Town on 074 9722 555. We're excited to offer a fantastic selection of self-charge and plug-in hybrid cars, along with petrol and electric cars. With finance rates starting from an incredible 0% APR and a 7-year warranty, you can drive away today with peace of mind. Call Heron Auto to find your perfect vehicle and experience our commitment to excellence. Drive with confidence. Drive with Heron Auto Donegal Town.
When I started Special Care, it was
difficult. That's what they called you. And it was hard
to talk at first, but you showed me
we could break down those barriers together.
And even though I'd been through a lot,
your life could change. So I wanted to say
thank you for letting me be myself.
Thank you for letting us make a difference.
Tuzla is hiring special care workers. Earn up to €67,494 in a life-changing job for them and you. Visit tuzla.ie to apply now.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Discover trending new styles each week in fashion, footwear, accessories, homeware and more. Visit us to explore the latest arrivals in store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
So mainly dry today with brighter sunny spells and perhaps a few showers. Highest temperatures 14 to 15 degrees. Winds light, they're edging up a little bit. We're going to have a bit of rain over the weekend, but as I said yesterday, there are indications that we could be seeing temperatures in the late teens and more dry weather next week. Fingers crossed and all that jazz. Right. Stay tuned. The news and obituary notices are coming up in just a couple of moments.
The 9 till Noon Show was brought to you in association with Remind. Packed with high-strength omega-3s and carefully selected carotenoids to support your eye and brain health. Available at all Healthwise pharmacies.
Ensure the safety of your team with SIFTech. We have part-funded courses in first aid, people moving and handling, confined spaces, food hygiene, quad bikes, fire warden, IPAF MUPS, electrofusion, welding and machinery cards for Ireland and UK sites. Also delivering online courses like utilities, water hygiene and construction supervisors. SIFTech can deliver group training at your business premises. To find out more, Contact safetech.ie today.
T-Shirt Express is on the move, and that means massive savings for you. It's the relocation sale of the year. Everything must go. Hoodies, sweatshirts, T-shirts, workwear, all slashed to rock bottom prices. T-shirts just €5 or 3 for €10. Hoodies only €10 or 2 for €15. Unbeatable deals you can't afford to miss. Call into T-Shirt Express at Riverside Retail Park, Letterkenny. Sale starts Wednesday, April 23rd. Be there before it's all gone.
With Circle K Extra, save up to 3 cents per litre on fuel every time you fill up. Download the Circle K app today and start saving.
Ready to transform your smile? Discover the magic of Blue Poppy Dental in Letterkenny and Donegal Town. With implantologists, surgical and cosmetic dentists, orthodontists and an endodontist all under one roof, we've got all your dental needs covered. Starting your journey is easy. Call us on 074 91 20355 or book your appointment online anytime through our user-friendly patient portal at bluepoppydental.com. Blue Poppy Dental and Orthodontics, where smiles shine brighter.
Nippy, fun and chic don't often describe insurance, but they perfectly fit the electric Fiat 500 you have the opportunity to win if you get a new car policy from On Post Insurance. For great cover at a great price and a shot at the Fiat 500, get a quote at onpostinsurance.ie. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply and are available at onpostinsurance.ie/promotions. Competition ends December 31st, 2025. One Direct Ireland Limited trading as On Post Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. One Direct Ireland Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of On Post.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donal Kavanagh at the news desk. New veterinary courses at the ATU won't be in operation until at least 2026. It was anticipated that the first intake of students at the ATU and SETU would be in September of this year. Higher Education Minister James Lawless says the universities involved need time for matters including the hiring process and certification. The establishment of the 2 new courses was announced last autumn, with the programme to be delivered primarily at the ATU campus in Donegal. Speaking at the TUI Congress, Minister Lawless said it's unfortunate the option isn't available for students this year, but he stressed work is progressing.
2026 for ATU and SETU. So neither college, unfortunately, is in a position to deliver those September. Ideally, I would like to be announcing that those veterinary courses were starting in September of this year. They're not. Both colleges have put their hands up and said to me, we're not ready to do that yet. We need a little bit more time. In some cases, about certification. It's about having that international recognition to credit grades.
Well, ATU President Orla Flynn will be speaking to Greg shortly on the 9 till noon show about the situation locally. The majority of primary school teachers believe preparation for confirmation or communion shouldn't be taking place in the classroom. The findings were unveiled at the INTO's national conference, which is ongoing in Galway. The same survey found a third of the teachers taught religion willingly, while 20% said they'd prefer it if they didn't have to. Donegal Central Executive Committee representative with the INTO, Anya McGinley, believes education needs to evolve in line with a changing society.
Whenever we surveyed our members from a Congress motion actually last year, we found the exact same information as what the census data told us, that that the families need more of a choice with regards to patronage or not non-religious schools. I suppose our schools have changed over the last number of years. We've got where children coming from all different parts of the world because of war-torn situations, and I think we've just got to move with the times.
Farmers need to stand strong and reject lower price offers for their beef stock. The IFA says factories are trying to get back control of the market as steer prices have risen by over 18 cents per kilo since the start of the month. Demand is high in the face of lower supplies, with Board Bia predicting a reduction of 87,000 cattle in the beef market this year. IFA Livestock Chair Declan Hanrahan says the gamesmanship of factories is at odds with reality.
The market indications are that the market is strong, so I would advise farmers to sell hard, not accept the lower quotes, not accept the propaganda from the processors, and to fight hard for the best price that they can achieve. Processors know well the supplies are going to remain tight for the rest of the year, and they're trying to maybe get another bit of control of the market, but it's unjustified because our markets are strong and performing very strong across the EU and the UK.
Former Taoiseach Frances Fitzgerald says she will not be contesting the presidential election this year. She's told the Irish Times she won't be seeking a Fine Gael nomination to replace Michael D. Higgins. She says she had discussed the possibility with the Fine Gael leader Simon Harris and has been approached by many people. Ms Fitzgerald says the reasons behind her decision included assessing the current political landscape and whether it was right for herself personally. Today is the final day for people to have their say on a proposed gold mine in County Tyrone. A transboundary consultation is ongoing. The Save Our Sperrins campaign group is encouraging people to support their campaign to have the Dalradian development halted. The group's been raising concerns over the potential environmental impact of the proposed gold mine. Dalradian has been working on the site near Greencastle in the Sperrin Mountains since 2009. A Planning Appeals Commission inquiry was suspended in January, partly because people in Donegal hadn't been consulted. And Ukraine peace talks taking place in London today have been downgraded, with top diplomats no longer attending. Instead, officials from the US, UK and European allies will continue discussions. It comes after Kyiv says it wouldn't accept any deal that recognises Crimea as part of Russia. But US Vice President J.D. Vance says both sides will need to make concessions.
The Ukrainians and the Russians are both going to have to give up some of the territory they currently own. There's going to have to be some territorial swaps, but we want the killing to stop. And the only way to really stop the killing is for the armies to both put down their weapons and to get on with the business of actually building a better Russia and a better Ukraine.
Weather forecast mainly dry today with bright or sunny spells, a few light showers possible in top temperatures of 14 or 15 degrees Celsius. And that's Highland Radio News. Back with news headlines again at 11 in the interim. Check all the day's news on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
The obituary notices for this Wednesday morning, April the 23rd. The death has occurred of Elsie McGlinchey, Greenfields Convoy. Her remains are reposing at her home. Funeral leaving from there this morning at 10:30 for 11 o'clock requiem mass in St Mary's Church Convoy, followed by burial in the old graveyard. Family time please before the funeral this morning. Family flowers only, donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Terence McClintock, funeral director. The death has taken place of Josephine Josie Boyle, née Hegarty, Guystown, Ballindrate, and formerly of Dromany, Letterkenny, reposing at her son Seamus Boyle's home, Guystown, Ballindrate. Funeral leaving there today at 12 noon for requiem mass in St Patrick's Church, Murlough, Clifford at 12:30. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time please before the funeral today. The requiem mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has occurred of Winston Caterson, late of Sinclair Road, Bangor and formerly of Donegal. Service in West Presbyterian Church, Bangor on Saturday morning at 11 o'clock. Funeral afterwards to Clandeboy Cemetery. Flowers welcome. Donations may be sent if desired to West Presbyterian Church, Bangor, care of S. Clark and Son Funeral Directors. And the death has taken place of Annie Ferry, Lochnane, formerly of Carrick-a-Taskin, Gidor. Her remains are reposing at her home. Funeral mass will take place in St Patrick's Church in Meanawheel this morning at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in Maharagan Cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed live on Kieran Rorty, Funeral Director's Facebook page. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Just imagine what you'd do if €20,000 landed in your lap right now. And then it happens again next month, and the month after, and the one after that. Imagine it happens every month for the next 30 years. Well, that's how Eurodreams works, the national lottery game where you could enjoy that once-in-a-lifetime feeling every month for 30 years. For your chance to win, play Eurodreams any Monday or Thursday. The National Lottery. It could be you. Play responsibly, play for fun.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
You're very welcome back to the programme. Good morning if you've just tuned in. Greg, every hospital north or south have to wait with their mental health. I sat personally in ED for my mental health for too many hours. So sad, thanks. And I'm glad, hopefully, that you got eventually the care that you needed. And it's lovely to hear from you. I've been to casualty a few times with my daughter presenting as suicidal, and I would never recommend that route to anyone. The staff always made us feel like we were worthless and looking down their noses at us, then having to wait between 4 to 7 hours to see a psychiatrist. Thank God she's doing much better now, and I'm really pleased for you. I'm sure it's an awful strain on her, but also caring mums and dads as well. So thankfully she's in a better place. I'm glad to hear that. There's no proper help with depression, says another listener, or mental health issues in this county. I know a family member attended the adult mental health, and every time they go, it's a new doctor they meet, and all they do is check their file and maybe up their medication, and they feel hopeless at this stage. It's a disgrace. A caller says, I phoned Pieta House 5 times one night, and to this day, years later, I still haven't heard from them. I presume at this point you won't. You do hear stories, people's experiences. Thank you for that. Greg, hopefully this will be introduced in Ireland. We're in bad need of it. The Welsh Ambulance Service is trialling a new mental health response team which attends 999 calls from people experiencing a mental health crisis. Okay, it's something we should have, shouldn't we? Right, okay. By the way, it was off the back of just one comment. We've had quite a few people texting in their insurance wins. Home insurance, house insurance, car insurance, going for renewals, not being sort of, brand loyal and shopping around and making some savings, which is great. So if you've any insurance renewal wins, get them into us. We'd love to hear those as well. 086 60 25,000. Maybe you've beat the system, made a saving, despite many others seeing increases, but maybe it's worked for you. Let me know. 086 60 25,000 or give us a call on 074 91 25,000.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday, April 23rd. Playing on a blue sheet. Reference number is S3. It's week 17. Today's numbers are 47, 34, 8, 56, 23, 48, 24, 67, 73 and 57. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
New this week in Home Store and More. All pillows are all half price. But better hurry, because when all our half price pillows are gone, they're gone. Also, all lightweight luggage is still all half price, and all Rattan garden furniture is still all 33% off. But when all the half price lightweight luggage and all the 33% off Rattan garden furniture is gone, it's definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Milford Tiles, Milford Retail Park. Spring sale now on in our bathware department. Back to wall toilets, €199. 12 by 900 slider door, end panel and tray, €699. Wall hung vanity units and basin, €399. In stock and ready to go at Milford Tiles. 083 0910 707.
I love how you leave me a little card telling me you've dropped by. And I know that you'll always drop back in person. You're so thoughtful.
TV licence inspectors are calling now. You don't have to love it, but you do have to pay it. It's the law. Get your TV licence now at tvlicence.ie or at any post office. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
The 9 till Noon Show was brought to you in association with Remind. This super strength omega-3 supplement delivers 900 milligrams of omega-3s, plus key carotenoids, backed by science to support brain function and vision. Try Remind today.
Yes, indeed. You're very welcome back to the 9 till Noon Show here on Highland Radio. Right, now we are joined on the programme by Dr. Orla Flynn, President of the ATU. Good morning, Dr. Flynn. Thank you very much for your time.
Morning, Greg. Delighted to be with you.
Right, so we heard on the news there that unfortunately there is going to be a delay in new veterinary courses being made available. Regrettable, isn't it? What is the cause of the delay?
I suppose I was a bit surprised to hear it on the news earlier today because this is a decision that we had made and announced some time ago. The reason, and again, we're in the middle of our validation process for the new program at the moment, so we really were getting ourselves ready to have had an intake in September of this year. But we are building specialist facilities in Letterkenny, and it just takes a bit of time to make sure that we get the planning process right, that we get our designs right, and that we go through all of the necessary steps around public building, and just to be sure that we have that work finished in time for when the students will need it. We felt that it would take the risk, would reduce the risk considerably by moving the start date out to 2026. So effectively, we're talking about building a veterinary hospital as part of the facilities. When the students reach third year, they will need that facility, and we just needed to make sure that it would be ready in time for that.
Yeah, and I suppose the reasons it made the news today is because it was referenced by the Higher Education Minister, James Lawless. He was pointing out that he had been informed that the universities involved needed time. So I suppose that's why it sort of became public knowledge today. It's important to get it right. It's big. It'll be around for an awful long time. So whilst a deferral is regrettable, you want to get it right, I'm sure, as you've been outlining.
Yeah, we absolutely do. And, we have putting together a really great team. And as I said, the team are in the middle of the validation process at the moment. And I suppose from our point of view, we had made our submission back in autumn of 2022. So the decision wasn't announced until last September, October, around the time of the ploughing last autumn. So that was 2024. So at that point, that was the earliest really we commenced the planning for the facilities, and we're making great progress on that. But again, it is going to be a fantastic facility for students everywhere, really. But we're delighted it's going to be in near our Letterkenny campus, and we're looking forward to having our intake. We will be having this in the CAO ready for next February's CAO. So it will be 2026, and as I said, we're looking forward to that. We didn't want the students to be arriving at third year needing facilities for the very specialist facilities, and then us not being ready for that. So that's the reason for it. And we have communicated that to all the career guidance teachers some time ago now. I think it's a couple of months ago since we've communicated that. So it is public knowledge for some time now.
Yeah. Are all factors within your control, or could there be any unforeseen delays with the planning process, for an example?
Oh, I couldn't possibly comment on that. I mean, we're going to be doing our best to control all the factors that we can control, and that means being very thorough in our design process, making sure that we comply with all of the public requirements and the public sector controls, and we'll be working very closely with the council, and we already are actually working closely with the council just to make sure that that anything that we can control is in hand. But you can never say for sure that there won't be some obstacle or some barrier. But and we'll be doing our best to deal with anything that arises. But the best way I think that you can manage those things is to really be thorough and careful in what you can control.
Yeah, this is really positive news and a step in the right direction. You have in the past highlighted issues that need to be addressed in the Northwest in terms of funding for students and what have you. Are we making any inroads on wider issues, Dr. Flynn, notwithstanding the excellent news of these veterinary courses?
Yeah, and I would in the past have highlighted underinvestment in general in the Northern and Western region. And right across higher education, all the campuses in the Northern and Western region in general over the last 10 years. So we have a number of developments. We have a public-private partnership building also due to start in Letterkenny fairly soon. We'll have the veterinary developments, and we've been growing our apprenticeship activities in both Letterkenny and Killybegs. We'll be developing. We are developing and hoping to offer a new pharmacy program in Sligo, and we have a new public-private partnership building coming underway in Galway. So all of that together is really starting to address the underinvestment in capital, in particular in higher education. Obviously, there's more that we'd like to see. We'd like to see our investment in research facilities. We'd like to see ourselves given the permission and approval to be able to appoint professors. And then there's other factors across the region that impact us and our ability to serve the needs of the region, including infrastructure deficits like rail and road, but those are really long-term plans. I know some of them will be addressed through the national planning framework, but we'd like to see that accelerated, of course. But we're beginning to see some progress, I think, in the northern and western region.
What is the stumbling block in terms of being approved to appoint professors? Because there is a line above which there aren't any. Could you give us lay people an understanding as to the significance of that and what may be the blockage there?
Well, I suppose all universities globally have the power to appoint professors, and the grade of professor or the title of professor is widely understood in higher education terms. Typically, they are seen as academic leaders. Typically, they would have a very strong research profile. But because the technological universities have evolved from what was originally the regional technical colleges and then becoming the institutes of technology, and because we're, any new grades really require the approval of our minister and obviously conversations with other government partners, including Department of Public Expenditure and Reform. Even though the legislation was enacted in 2018, we still don't have the authority to appoint professors at an appropriate grade. We're hopeful that we will see this changing in the coming year, and I'm hopeful in the coming months that we will see this. And we've been working very closely, speaking with the unions and speaking with the government departments in relation to this. It would make a big difference for ATU, in particular because I've often spoken about that Galway-Dublin line and what's north of that, but in terms of our overseas and international dealings, in terms of our ability, to lead on collaborations with industry, particularly in that research space with industry, I think given the way the world is going, that's going to be critically important for industry in the northern and western region.
And finally, obviously, given the new status and new courses and popularity, we're seeing more and more students choosing Letterkenny and elsewhere, but Letterkenny I'm going to focus on. What is the situation in terms of the provision of extra student accommodation provided, through the ATU itself?
Well, again, that's another one. If you were to ask me, probably the two biggest issues facing us at the moment would be the professors, but also our inability to develop student accommodation. We're not permitted to borrow, even though the legislation does provide for a borrowing framework, but that has not been developed yet. And back in March 2024, so over a year ago, we were asked to make submissions in relation to student accommodation and potential options across all of our campuses, including Letterkenny. And so we're still waiting for some development on that. We had been obviously hoping for some kind of an announcement on that sooner. But there is a working group nationally looking at that, so kind of looking at standardized designs, but more importantly looking at some kind of a borrowing framework or some kind of a framework that would allow us perhaps to work with private developers in a PPP type model perhaps, or else just allowing us to borrow to build and develop student accommodation on land that we might already own or in collaboration with other owners. For us, the ability to provide student accommodation is huge. In the region, it would certainly keep more students in the region. It would make our region more attractive for students elsewhere in the country, but it would also make us a bit more attractive for international students. You know, we have a very strong international student population in Letterkenny, particularly quite a few Indian students doing various master's programs, a lot of them in the tech space. And, you know, accommodation is such a challenge right across Ireland. And, you know, taking students out of the kind of home rental market should ease other pressures as well. You know, we know housing is a massive issue for you know, first-time buyers, for companies seeking to recruit staff. The housing challenge is certainly with us right across the country.
Okay, thanks for that update. 'Cause I had to put that question to Simon Harris. I believe it was Simon Harris, and you would have got the impression that it was a done deal, so to speak. So interesting to get an upside. The wheels can tend to move slowly, but hopefully they're greased and things will move a little bit quicker going forward. Thank you for speaking to me. Sorry, Orla, was there something else you wished to say?
No, I was just going to say, yeah, the wheels sometimes tend to turn very slowly, but then all of a sudden you could get a rush of speed and things can move on quite well, you know, at times. And sometimes you just think there's nothing happening, but actually there's probably quite a lot happening behind the scenes. I know we have representatives on those national working groups, and you know, a lot of preparation and quiet, painstaking work is being done behind the scenes. So I'm hopeful that we'll get some movement on that quite soon.
Fingers
so thanks
crossed.
A million for raising that issue.
Thank you very much indeed. President of ATU, Dr. Orla Flynn there. My wife's insurance renewal came through for €860. Wowzers. Went back to the initial insurer and asked for the best price. They came back with €765, so they dropped it 95 quid with no changes. We shopped around thereafter and got it down to 650. So €210 better in my pocket by making a few phone calls and sitting for half an hour doing online quotes. Definitely recommend shopping around and not accepting the renewal price. Well done to you. Hi, Greg. My car insurance went up to by €90 from last year. Shopped around and got it cheaper by, wait till you hear it, 350 quid. Right, so their car insurance, their current insurer, bumped up their insurance for 90 quid. This is when their payouts are much lower and the profits are up. So they're taking the P, right? But they shopped around, saved 350 quid in their pocket. That's a little break even. All right, good news. Keep your insurance wins coming in, please. We like to hear that. Just before the break, Emma Louise O'Flanagan is in Termon and is 39 today. Well done. Still in your 30s, Emma Louise. From mum, dad, brother Thomas and sisters Marie and Christine. Actually, before the break, I'm going to go straight to Lisa. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing good. Now, what's your view on religion not being taught in the schools? The INTO aren't keen on it. Their members aren't keen on it. They want the sacraments taught outside the school or by parents. And there seems to be a movement to sort of, you know, get the religious control out of schools. What say you, Lisa?
Yeah, I don't think it's very fair. I think when you know, within our schools, we have the religious education there for the benefit of the children and what everything stands for is within your religion. But I think if, you know, why take that out and put it on the emphasis of parents? That some parents might not understand it, some parents might not teach the right way, some parents might not, you know, have different beliefs in the way they teach whatever. But why can't all religion be taught in the school rather than saying, oh, we have to take out the Catholic religion or whatever? You know, it could easily be incorporated in the religious side of it could all be incorporated in together.
Well, also the other thing too about removing sort of, you know, patronage, isn't it? Church patronage, is that what they call it, from schools? I don't understand that, especially if one of the reasons is that our population is becoming more diverse. Like if I decided to move to, I don't know, a country where there's another religion, I can't think of one off the top of my head, I wouldn't expect...
Some place like Dubai.
Yeah, Dubai, good example. I wouldn't expect them to remove their religion from the school. I would sort of want to integrate, understand their religion. I can still practice my own, right? But to have an understanding of their religion so I could respect their religion. You know, they shouldn't be competing things. I don't understand why we we need to throw the baby out with the bathwater here. Why take religion out of schools because we're getting more diverse? I actually don't think it's positive. I think that's actually counterintuitive in terms of a more integrated society.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. If everybody understood all the different religions and things that were out there, they possibly might understand it a lot better, and there might be less hatred towards people for the religion they believe in, because people don't understand certain religions. So they just assume that, we don't want to hear this religion, we don't want to hear. Where if it's all incorporated in one, then everybody's learning.
Well, I think an awful lot of problems arise from a lack of understanding between groups and cultural clashes. Yes. Cultural clashes, right? And I don't mean physical clashes. I think the more everybody is educated onto practices in this country, religious, social, whatever, the more integration I think there is for people into the status quo here, I think the more positive it is for a country. And as I say, I'm not mean that in anti-anything. I just think sometimes we make decisions thinking we're doing the right thing, and I wonder, Lisa, are we?
Well, that's what I mean. No, it wouldn't be doing the right thing, because you'd be taking something that's been around for hundreds of years, and you're taking it out because other people don't believe in it.
Mm. Because
it wouldn't be fair.
Like, Ireland is a Christian country, and other countries are proud of stuff like that. I don't know if it's because of the English or whatever it might be that we aren't proud of our. Sometimes we struggle to talk about our history, right? I think we do, and our culture and our heritage, because we think we're putting people down, which we're not. Other countries don't seem to have that problem, but I would like my children to be educated in their faith and also get an understanding of their friends' faith, if that faith happens to be different, or no faith. And school is a great place for that, potentially.
Yeah, very much so. It's the place where they learn the most. They'll learn from having the experience of having their faith there, and what their understanding of it is, and also their friends. Their friends might be totally different. They might, their faith might be totally different. So understand their faith as well as them understanding ours. Like, as you said, Greg, we wouldn't go into another country and say, we don't like your religion, we want it out.
Yeah, or
we would say,
your teachings offend me. You would go, right, that's your belief. Here's what I believe. We can have competing beliefs, or in fact, we can learn how our beliefs align.
Exactly.
We don't have to be one
very
another.
Much so.
Yeah. And it's interesting to hear the views of teachers, right? Because they're important. But I'd love to know the views of the population in this country, what they would think of what we're talking about. Obviously, Lisa, I know you would be opposed to it being removed from schools, but I think it's important that the public are heard as well, not just teachers, who are very important, of course.
Yeah, very much so, because I think it's kind of swept under the carpet. It's just coming on the news very under. It's like, oh, we're going to be doing this, or this is what's thoughts, or this is what, and parents really don't have a say in things like that, and I think they should. I think it's very important.
I'm not conflating issues, but, like if you see, for instance, what happened in Britain and the whole conversation that's been going on about women, right, for the last God knows how long. And then you have one Supreme Court judgment, and then all of a sudden every politician can speak about what a woman is or how they understand it. Like, that's how quickly things can change. And I think it's really just important that whatever we do in whatever issue in life is that we take a step back. We don't be afraid to step on toes. We have an adult, open conversation and go with the majority view on things, whatever the issue might be.
That's the most important thing. I think people just take it upon themselves to say, oh, we're going to do this, rather than taking a step back and thinking, how's this going to affect people?
Exactly. And especially,
how's it going to be with them?
We have a lot of control, but also, when big decisions are made in how and what is taught in schools, parents need more consultation, because we're forming opinions and we're forming attitudes, and, we have to make sure we're getting everything right, I think, for our kids.
Very much so, yeah. Yeah, I totally agree.
All right, Lisa, lovely chatting to you.
Brilliant, Greg. Thanks
take care of yourself. Thanks for coming on. I do appreciate it. That's Lisa there, 086 60 25,000. What's your views? I'll do a few more happy birthdays, if that's okay, before we take that 10:30 break. Happy birthday to Cahill Morrison from Cahill, another Cahill, unless you're wishing yourself a happy birthday, Cahill. There's no shame in that game, but I believe there are two Cahills involved in this situation. So happy birthday, Cahill Morrison, from Cahill, Eugene, Rebecca and Martina. Happy birthday to the twins, Janice McGlynn, Castlefin, and Jackie Holmes Maville. Have a great day from all of the family. Did you see the twins on? Did you see the twins on the news? Two identical twin women. It's really quite an interesting video, actually. I mean, the subject matter they're talking about might be somewhat serious, but they speak. I might play the clip out. I don't think there's any bad language or what have you. They literally speak for each other. They two of them say sentences. I might actually see if we can play that out. But anyway, sorry. I don't know if Janice and Jackie are the same. Maybe they are. Maybe you can live inside each other's heads. I don't know. But happy birthday to the twins, Janice McGlynn, Castlefin, and Jackie Holmes Maville. Have a great day from all of the family and all of us here at Highland. And another one for Janice, and Jackie, from all the family as well. That's actually a duplication. But you know what? It's kind of an interesting coincidence that I accidentally got the same request in twice for twins. There you go.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you in association with Remind, packed with high-strength omega-3s and carefully selected carotenoids to support your eye and brain health. Available at all Healthwise pharmacies.
Irwin Expert Electrical, your trusted destination for all things home appliances, electrical and entertainment in the Northwest. With over 50 years of leading the way, we pride ourselves on offering a diverse range of products under one roof. From top brands like LG, Samsung, Cooker, Bosch, Apple and more, take advantage of our free layaway service where you can store your new items until you're ready for them. Perfect for renovations and new build projects. Visit Irwin Expert Electrical today in Letterkenny or Buncrana.
Hello, I'm David Foley, medical herbalist. Are you suffering with stress, anxiety, insomnia? Then ask for Irish Botanica Peace and Calm, a traditional herbal remedy. Irish Botanica Peace and Calm has a naturally relaxing effect, ideal for stress, insomnia, jet lag, and pre-exam anxiety. Call us a Natural Way, Letterkenny Shopping Centre for more information.
Summer is on the way, so maybe it's time to get your children's eyes checked, ready for the outdoor adventures and summer camps. At Inish Eye Care, your local family-run opticians, they're offering a second pair of children's glasses free. Yes, a second pair free, along with expert advice on how to keep your children's eyes healthy this summer. To see the full range of children's glasses available, call into Inish Eye Care at Carndonagh Shopping Centre or at 14 Ardravin Square, Buncrana. Some terms and conditions apply.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. It is, of course, the 9 till noon show. This was 1 year ago today.
So we're here at Letterkenny Community Centre to do our big surprise for Monica Greer, who was nominated for one of the Community Hero Awards for 2024. So she's actually in the middle of doing a class, so in the next couple of minutes we're actually going to go in and give her the biggest surprise of her life with a €1,000 cheque. Come and join me now. Hello, is this Monica? Monica, how are you? Sean Quinn here from Highland Radio. How are you? Now, why am I here standing in front of you, Monica? You have been nominated and you'll be successful and you're a winner of the Highland Radio Community Hero Awards for 2024. And here's your daughter here. She's got a lovely cheque for €1,000. And you're so well deserving of it. Okay. And what have you done for those charities?
I hold a Christmas hamper around every Christmas, and every year different businesses around the town give me prizes, and I do raffles, and all the money is given to the charity.
Right. Who's this behind me, I wonder?
Congratulations.
That wonderful lady just been presented a cheque.
Hello, Rose, how are you? So we've kind of got you a little bit. So we have, because you weren't shortlisted. You're actually one of our winners, one of our 5 winners. Been recognised.
She's never speechless.
As a community hero. Why is she a community hero? Tell us.
Margaret never looks for anything. She does this, is the word, selflessly every year, and she does more than this. I could have written another 3 pages about her easily.
Hello there. Hello. Is this Seamus, is it? This is me. Seamus McLaughlin. Do you know this guy here?
Do you have a TV licence?
This is the boy Tom. Well, the reason we're here today is Tom actually sent us a lovely letter to Highland Radio, and what we've been doing, we have a Community Hero Awards for 2024, and he wrote a lovely letter about you, And you know what? You're one of our community heroes, and we're here today to just congratulate you. And if you let us in for a couple of minutes, Tom might tell us why he did what he did.
I nominated him because he really took me under his wing. Even cut his time between himself and his wife, you know, to facilitate me going to Sligo, Galway, Letterkenny, you mentioned it, he was there.
I suppose it's also fair to say that because of what Seamus does, it just makes your life so much easier.
What? I wouldn't be here without him.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't be here without him.
So that was the Community Hero 2024. We are now in 2025, and it's back again. Sean, welcome into studio there. Sean Quinn, head of sales here. And we're inviting people who know someone who goes beyond the call of duty, helps in their community, cares, volunteers, and goes the extra mile for neighbours and friends. We want to hear about them.
Yeah, and just, do you know what, Greg? The last clip there where he says that I wouldn't be here without him, that to me summed up that whole week last year that we did. We got a great response. And what we're looking for again this year is, who is that person who goes beyond, but above and beyond, who's never recognised, that we'd like to recognise them. We'd like to do what we did for Monica, for Margaret and for Seamus last year, who were well-deserving winners of our Community Heroes. So, we don't need a book story on it. We just need a paragraph about why them, why are they important to you, what did they do within your community, why did they make a difference, and why do they deserve to be recognised. And we're going to give 3 lucky people this year €1,000 for.
Can I say something that's a little bit controversial?
Go on.
I think almost the €1,000 is fantastic, but it's by the by. Because the emotions from people, and if you were watching the show, you would have seen that video, and it's available on our socials, and if not, we'll repost it, right, so it's easy found. The shock and emotion was them being recognised. The €1,000 was additional, but that €1,000 wasn't in the picture when people were so moved by being recognised. These are incredibly humble people that do so much for other people. They're not there in it for the thanks, but you can see clearly it's the recognition that takes them aback. And we all know people that deserve that. And the gravy, right, of course, or the ice cream, is the €1,000 as well. But do you get where I'm coming from about that?
You're 1,000,000% correct, because we and we'd like to do this again this year. Is we'd like to surprise people if we can do it. And the check wasn't the surprise. It was the recognition. It was the person that had nominated them being beside them to say why they'd nominated them. You're 100% correct, Greg. It was such a very special couple of days that we did going out filming and getting to know these people. And Seamus was very heartwarming, because what he did for his neighbour was quite amazing. And it was the trips to Sligo, and they became best friends because of it, because they spent more time together.
I want his neighbour's cardigan. It's absolutely stunning. A beautiful woolen cardigan.
Yeah, it was just a very touching moment. So we're now reaching out to say, again, thanks to one of our listeners who remains anonymous and has donated the prizes. We want to go out and we want to look for this year's Community Heroes. So who are they across the county? Who's that person that it may have been today that they've done a good deed? It may be somebody that comes to see you every day. It may be somebody that takes you to the bingo, or it may be somebody that helps within the community centres. We're opening it up to say, who are they? Please tell us.
Well, we all know them. But that's the significant thing here. We all know them, and they're so important, and they're so unassuming, and they just go about their everyday business. And often I find those with the greatest responsibility seem to find the time to help others.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying exclusively, but the people, as I say, I'm not going to, but I could list 4, 5, 6 people who are 5 times as busy as I am. And we all say we're flat out, right?
Yeah.
And yet, in their day, they find time to help a neighbour, to help out in the community, to, whatever it might be. And it's not just for older people, it can be young people or whatever, across all different types of sectors. So the only thing we're asking is not for you to go out and hunt these people, because you know exactly who they are, right? We're just asking you to give us their names, a little bit about them, and email hero@highlandradio.com or post your nominations to Highland Radio, Mountaintop Letterkenny, Donegal. The one thing we know, and more so in this county, I think, than any county, is they're there. Just let us know who they are. Let us know who deserves it.
Yeah, and just, a simple reason why. Because that does make a difference. If you can tell us why and what they do. Like Tom's letter last year, he wrote us a letter about Seamus, and it blew me away because it was in his own handwriting. He told his own story about what Seamus had done to give up his time. And he went out to the post office himself and he posted it. I rang him to have a conversation with him, and I was just blown away by how much it meant to him that Seamus was recognised, because he felt that Seamus kept him alive because of what he did on a daily basis. So
and feeling alive is not necessarily always physical.
No.
It's about connections.
Absolutely.
It's about not feeling isolated. It's about feeling part of something, and that's clearly what that gentleman has done for his neighbour, which is invaluable.
Yep.
So, as I say, you know who these people are. They're scattered from every corner and in between of our beautiful region. We are keeping this open until May 5th, and then we'll announce the winners subsequently. And it's always nice to sort of do a bit of a surprise on it as well. So if that suits, fine. Get your details of the person. As Sean quite rightly pointed out, we're not looking for you to be a poet laureate here. Just in your own words, as simple as you like, explain why this person is so important and what they contribute, and it allows us then to. I mean, this is one of those ones. If you had €100,000, you could give it to 100 people.
You could.
We do have to have a number, and it's 3.
Yeah.
But I think even just being nominated is a fantastic recognition in all of these things. So May 5th, it's not that far around.
No,
it's just around the corner.
It
really,
is, and it's. Do you know what? If I remember last year, we had a panel, and it was really difficult. So we probably will have to shortlist. So what I would ask, to make sure that when you send in your nomination, whether it's in writing or via email, please put your phone number on it.
Yeah.
Because we will probably need to talk to you to get a bigger, more in depth into
exactly.
the person.
And you might be better at explaining the situation on the phone. Just
exactly
throw the hook out with the bait. We'll catch and give you a call. So your name, your contact details, and the details of the person that you're nominating, your local hero, your community hero, and email it into us at hero@highlandradio.com. Last year it was by post, which is perfectly fine as well. Post your nomination to Highland Radio, Mountaintop Letterkenny, County Donegal, and get your entries in by Monday the 5th of May. And there's more info on highlandradio.com, I believe.
Yeah, it's live now. It's live, yeah.
Pretty simple, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there an online form? No, it's just the info?
No, it's more.
Just the info. That's perfectly
exactly.
fine.
Yeah.
So an email is an online form anyway. Okay.
The online form can be restrictive as well. So I think this is more about your feelings about the person.
I'm never really satisfied filling something out in a website goes anywhere. Not ours, right? But you know, sometimes when you're making an inquiry to a business and you fill that form, I feel like I've got more control over an email. I sometimes press button it and they go, do they just refresh the page?
The submit button.
Yeah.
Did I hit it? Did I not hit it?
Did it
nothing.
go?
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant stuff. All right. It's simple as that. You know who your community heroes are. Don't be restricted by the examples we've given, because we want you to sort of expand this as well. Give us people that that you class as community heroes that don't necessarily fall into the categories we've mentioned so far. We're not being prescriptive. It's up to you. hero@highlandradio.com. Your name and a contact number so we can check some deets with you. The name of the person, the hero which you wish to nominate, a little bit about them. You can write as much about them as you like, but we don't want people who maybe go, I can't really explain it correctly, to be excluded. Get it into us, no bother at all. Anything else? That's it, isn't it, Sean?
That's
it,
yeah.
It's pretty simple. Okay. Yep. May 5th, folks, get on it. Thank you very much indeed. See you, Sean.
Thanks, Craig.
Bye.
The 9 till Noon Show was brought to you in association with Remind. This super strength omega-3 supplement delivers 900 milligrams of omega-3s, plus key carotenoids, backed by science to support brain function and vision. Try Remind today.
All you need to make your house a home at Patterson's The Halliford. From garden furniture to kitchens, sofas and dining sets, all under one roof. Need a new mattress? Why not visit our sleep centre on the first floor? With a large range of quality beds and mattresses in stock and ready for collection or delivery. Relax in our coffee shop serving hot lunches daily. Open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Patterson's Kitchens and Interiors, the Halliford.
Every year, about 2,500 people in Ireland get bowel cancer. Bowel screening helps to reduce your risk of developing it. If you're aged 59 to 70, register for a free bowel screen test kit. Once you've done the test at home, return it by free post and we'll test your sample. If you need follow-up tests, we'll let you know. Register today at bowelscreen.ie or free phone 1-800 45 45 55 from the HSE.
Your next car is waiting for you at iMotors. With the Northwest's largest selection of used cars, we've got over 250 quality-approved vehicles in stock, from hatchbacks to hybrids, SUVs to 7-seaters, petrol, diesel and electric. All mix, all models. Every car is fully inspected, comes with a warranty and ready to drive away today. Visit us in Letterkenny or Malin or check out the full range now at imotors.ie. iMotors. More choice, better value.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Discover trending new styles each week in fashion, footwear, accessories, homeware and more. Visit us to explore the latest arrivals in store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
Dry today, bit of sun around, temperatures mid-teens, not too bad at all. Right, I can be a bit of a lightning rod for frustration, and I don't mind that at all. But the latest batch of lightning came over traffic congestion in Letterkenny, and there was gridlock. Now, I put this down to the post-Easter exodus. Often what we see on the Tuesday after Easter, particularly, is Letterkenny get locked up, because for many places around Donegal, how do you get home if you've come visiting? Well, you have to go through Letterkenny. Not exclusively, but for the majority. Was it down to that mass exodus? Christy Galligan, former Garda Sergeant, of course, who's been talking about the traffic situation in Letterkenny.
Hello, good morning, Greg. Yeah, it was, I'm sure, extremely frustrating for anybody, any commuter on the roads in Letterkenny yesterday. And it wasn't just down to the Easter bank holiday weekend or anything else for that matter. I mean, that would be added to it, but there was seemingly a breakdown in relation to our electrical system fault in relation to traffic light system in Letterkenny out by the Postar roundabout on that direction, and the ESB and the council were involved. Now, traffic gridlock, as we know, and we've talked about it many times over the last period, has been a major issue here and around Letterkenny, and it's deeply frustrating for commuters and people come into this town. It's just very frustrating. And traffic was all the way back to the Golf Course Road yesterday and up around Meadow Hill, up Carnamug. I mean, it was just madness. When I contacted the council, and I got a very nice girl in the council, but I asked what had happened, and she informed me what did occur. And then I asked what measures were in place to alleviate or control traffic flows that were building up around town, and there was nothing put in place. There was no backup system or backup plan put in place. I then rang the local Garda station here. I spoke to a member of the force in Letterkenny station and asked what, if any, backup plans were in place if the council had nothing in place, and they informed me they had nobody available. Cars were tied up. There was no members of the Garda Síochána available to do traffic control in any of these areas where there was gridlock. And that's the frustrating part. They put in traffic lights in this town. What they didn't do was put in cameras or proper systems in place where you have a proper traffic control centre hub. You know, we need a traffic control centre hub where we have people that are in place that can control the flow of traffic in and around the Letterkenny. Because we don't have the relief roads, they're not in place. We need to have some better system on how to control and manage traffic systems. And I've looked at numerous different websites in relation to London, the World Economic Forum, all of those, to see what is available. And one of the ones that came up was Barcelona Urban Lab, dynamic traffic forecasting. Now, it might seem a mouthful, but it was about parking management and traffic control cameras in around the Barcelona area, and that's a big city. We're only a large town, but we're a town of 25,000 people, and that swells during the summertime. And we're looking at putting in sensors in different areas around the town, and those analytics in real time show what are the traffic flows in and around those areas. And the traffic control cameras are connected by fibre optics to those transport authorities, to the transport authority itself, to monitor the traffic in real time, and then providing the control centre means to increase or reduce the frequency of green lights according to those traffic conditions. And that's something we need here. We need a traffic control system or a hub with that everything is fed in.
I get where you're coming from, Christy, but I don't think the infrastructure lends itself to be able to accommodate the traffic with signal changes. I mean, let's not forget that the road you're talking about, and I would say probably 75% of traffic that doesn't want to be in Letterkenny but has to go through Letterkenny goes out down the Remelton Road. They're talking about, and the plan is to reduce the road outside of the Mount Erical Hotel to 2 lanes. So, you know, rather than talking of initiatives that you talk of, we're actually seem to be doing things that the man on the street and the woman on the street believes to be actually counterintuitive.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, and I have been on to the council in relation to, and I spoke to you not long back in relation to the active travel plans around Letterkenny, where they were increasing pedestrianisation areas and cycle areas, reducing road space. I know from my own experience up here at College Farm Road, College Road, the issues with traffic has really come to the fore in this last while, you know, where we have seen the numbers increasing at school attendance in schools in this area, you know, increasing minibuses and buses in general, traffic flows, and we're talking about reducing road space and increasing pedestrianisation space. But we're living on, you know, Letterkenny is built on a hill, you know, and I can't imagine too many people cycling up the back road on an active part of the space, trying to go up the back road or up by Windy Hall to Killylaston areas or anywhere else for that matter. The issue here is relief roads that were needed for Letterkenny are still in the planning stage, and we need them now. We don't need them in 10 years' time. We need them now because, you know, at the end of the day, the traffic congestion and people get frustrated when it is time after time we have gridlock in and around Letterkenny, and you know it doesn't happen for the environment or anywhere else for that, but it gives huge frustration to people who are trying to get through the town, maybe to access somewhere else. And also on top of that, if they reduce the road space as they have done between the Polestar roundabout and out by the Clanree there, the difficulty is, like yesterday, when you have emergency vehicles trying to get from A to B, and they're stuck in traffic as well. Somebody's life could be on the line here. And yet, the response from the council or even from our state agencies is near to zero.
And I know we talk about the 4 lanes a lot, but I actually was stuck in front of an ambulance trying to get through from the Remelton Road, and it's equally congested. And as I say, they're looking to narrow that road further. The problem here is, Christy, we're going round in circles. The solution here is the Bonaghy link, isn't it? Isn't the Bonaghy link the bridge?
Absolutely,
but what we're doing is we're designing roads. This is my take on it. The roads are being planned for when we have that link. So actually, until such time as we get that link, I think we're making traffic worse. But once that link is there, everything will begin to make sense. But we can't. How long is that going to be? 10 years, 15 years? You know, I get the active travel and all, but 3/4 of the traffic needs to be taken out of Letterkenny, and that only happens when we get the link. So what do we do in the interim?
And what there is a problem is, you know, we've seen in other areas, in other parts, both in Northern Ireland and down the country, of park and ride for people who want to come into town, they want to park up and they want to get around and access the town easier. All of those things are very, you know, are part of, improving traffic congestion. But there's no plan in place. And I don't hear anybody from the council coming on saying, look, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to improve things in life for people in general.
I do have to rush it on, but you've been really critical of the council. You said that when the council won the Best Council Award in Ireland, you thought it was a joke.
Well, I thought it was a joke originally. I thought I had a look to see if it was the 1st of April. But I mean, really, I know from my own personal, I have written to the council on numerous occasions, traffic and TII. I have written to the Department of Transport. I've written to everybody on behalf of other people in relation to the traffic systems, not just up around my own area, but also around the town as well. And I don't see anything being done. All I get back is an acknowledgement, or we can't do this, we don't have the budget for that. But yet they had a budget to, as they thought they were doing, from the Polestar roundabout out to Glanree to improve traffic flow. It didn't improve traffic flow. They increased the number of traffic lights in the Polestar roundabout that didn't need traffic lights. I don't believe it did.
They didn't. They didn't. The purpose was to make the traffic flow more fair. That was they said from the get-go this wasn't about getting you from A to B quicker on certain routes. This was about making sure that you could get to A to B on all routes.
But it hasn't improved the traffic flow.
Okay.
I mean, yesterday was a prime example.
Okay.
You know, yesterday was a prime example. There was nothing in place. There was no plan in place where a system like the traffic lights or something, or electrical system or electrical fault, where there was a failure. There was no backup system in place. And there was nothing or no one to suggest how you could improve on that, or what measures were in place to alleviate the traffic flow problems in and around the town.
All right, Christy,
if something happened.
and that's the critical point that you began with, and we'll conclude with, that is there is no traffic management plan when one is needed, be it the guards or the council. I don't think it's up to the guards to deal with bad planning, personally speaking. But anyway,
but I think there needs to be a multi-agency approach, Greg. No matter what, there should be some backup plan. If the council don't have a backup plan, then there should be a multi-agency approach to something like that. That heretofore, if there was a problem in roundabouts, mostly you'd have the Gardaí or even the traffic corps available to help to alleviate traffic. Might not always work, but they were there anyway to try to help alleviate traffic and see where the problems lay. But you need a multi-agency approach, and it's something that's very, very lacking in between Donegal County Council and other state agencies.
Christy Galligan, thank you. Okay, it is 11 o'clock, time for a news update, and we cross over now to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The ATU president says delays in the construction of specialist facilities at the Letterkenny campus have led to the postponement of the first intake of veterinary students. The new courses, which were announced last autumn, were expected to be rolled out this September. Higher Education Minister James Lawless confirmed the delay at the TUI's Congress. Plans also include a veterinary hospital in Letterkenny. The Pope's body has been moved to St Peter's Basilica, where he will lie in state until his funeral this weekend. His body was carried through the square, escorted by cardinals, to the sound of bells and Latin chants. Crowds applauded as the coffin reached the steps of the church, where his funeral will take place at 9 a.m. Irish time on Saturday. The majority of primary school teachers believe preparation for confirmation or communion shouldn't take place in the classroom. The findings were unveiled at the INTO's National Conference in Galway. The same survey found a third of the teachers taught religion willingly, while 20% said they'd prefer if they didn't have to. Donegal Central Executive Committee representative with the INTO, Anya McGinley, believes education needs to evolve in line with a changing society. Letterkenny University Hospital is the second most overcrowded hospital in the country today. 52 people are without a bed at the hospital. The latest INMO Trolley Watch report shows 18 patients are on a trolley in the hospital's emergency department, while a further 34 are on a trolley elsewhere in the hospital. Today is the final day for people to have their say on a proposed gold mine in County Tyrone. A transboundary consultation is ongoing, and the Save Our Sperrins campaign group is encouraging people to support their campaign to halt the development by Dalradian. A Planning Appeals Commission inquiry was suspended in January, partly because people in Donegal hadn't been consulted. And farmers need to stand strong and reject lower price offers for their beef stock. The IFA says factories are trying to get back control of the market as steer prices have risen by over 18% per kilo 18 cent per kilo since the start of the month. Demand is high in the face of lower supplies, with Board Bia predicting a reduction of 87,000 cattle in the beef market this year. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Thanks very much, Michaela. We'll be back with more after the break. Stay where you are.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you in association with Remind, packed with high-strength omega-3s and carefully selected carotenoids to support your eye and brain health. Available at all Healthwise pharmacies.
Ireland's Best Jazz Festival returns this May Bank Holiday weekend. City of Derry Jazz and Big Band Festival from the 1st to the 5th of May. Artists from across the world will perform in over 60 venues across the city. Book your stay today. For full programme and listings, visit www.cityofderryjazzfestival.com.
At Bluebird Care, every day is an opportunity to make a real difference. Where you change lives, where you're supported, where you belong. We're recruiting care assistants and nurses across Donegal for roles that offer flexibility, competitive pay and a supportive team that's always by your side. Whether you're seeking full-time, part-time or flexible shifts, Bluebird Care is where you can change lives every day. Are you ready to join a team that cares as much as you do? Apply today at bluebirdcarecareers.ie. Bluebird Care, where you belong.
Tina Turner. That is mine.
Want to show someone that you think they're simply the best? Or do you have a proud Mary you want to spoil? West End mega hit Tina, the Tina Turner musical, is coming to Bordgash Energy Theatre, Dublin as part of its first ever Ireland tour. Join Highland Radio on Friday the 6th of June for an unforgettable trip. Set to a soundtrack of Tina's greatest hits, this inspirational and exhilarating story celebrates the life of the Queen of Rock and Roll. Trip includes luxury coach travel, overnight stay at the 4-star City North Hotel on a bed and breakfast basis, and ticket to the show. Contact us today on 9125,000 or check out the outlet on highlandradio.com to book your place now.
Stomach discomfort, burning chest, burning throat, acid reflux, bad breath, sour taste and stomach burning. However these 7 symptoms of heartburn and indigestion feel like for you, Gaviscon Extra acts by forming a raft in your stomach to neutralise stomach acid fast for longer lasting relief for 7 symptoms. Think Gaviscon. Gaviscon Extra Oral Suspension and Gaviscon Extra Chewable Tablets for reflux, heartburn and indigestion. Always read the label.
Now, on today's 9 till noon show, and as part of our Wellness Wednesday programme, we speak to Saoirse McKelcher, who will tell us about her journey through education and overcoming her health issues. She's now a qualified nutritionist and has her own business, Saoirse's Healthy Living. Good morning, Saoirse. How are you getting on?
Hi, Greg. I'm good. Thank
Great to have you in. How are you keeping?
I'm good. Thanks.
Excited about the interview?
Yeah, a bit nervous.
You don't worry about it. We'll be fine. Right. So your health story really goes back to a very young age. You were just a toddler, 2 years of age.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I can't really remember any different. But I've heard the story that often. So I didn't start getting sick until I was about 2.
Mm.
And I got very sore eyes, and then things started happening after that. I got really bad diarrhea, and they didn't know what was causing it. I was in and out of Letterkenny Hospital, and I was also being seen in Temple Street for my eyes by Professor O'Keefe. And it wasn't until I was 4 until they actually diagnosed what was wrong with me. That I have a rare autoimmune condition.
And going out in the sun was harmful to you?
Yeah,
and other
if you
things
look
developed?
back at pictures, I had these red eyes, and I remember I used to have to crawl up the hallway in the morning because my eyes would be so painful, and then to walk from the house to the car, I would have to stand behind somebody's back, and I had a special cushion that I used in the car to hold over my face. So it was very painful. I got laser surgery done on my eyes when I was 7 or 8, not that old. And since that, my eyes have improved a lot.
Very good. Now, you were eventually diagnosed. Was it after your sample was sent to Finland that the diagnosis was actually official at that point?
Yeah, so what happened was I went into a full body cramp because of low calcium.
Right.
And then kind of they realised then through bloods that my thyroid gland wasn't working, and my endocrinologist in Crumlin, Dr. Costigan, I think he kind of had an idea then, and the bloods were sent off and it was confirmed.
But this is incredibly rare, so that's why I'm sure they want second and third opinions. Only one out of 20 people in the country have been diagnosed. You're one of only 20 people in the country
back
to be
then,
diagnosed.
I was, but
Yeah.
after I was diagnosed, they sent out, my doctor sent out like a notice to other doctors to look out for patients who
Right.
were, they had
Same symptoms
multiple
as you,
autoimmune conditions to test for them, and a lot more were diagnosed then.
Wow.
But so there was people going around that just thought they had autoimmune conditions, and
Yeah.
they actually had that.
What's it called? I'm going to let you do this one.
So it's the long name is autoimmune polyendocrinopathy candidiasis ectodermal dystrophy.
Mm.
That was my party piece when I was a child. I used to come out with all this Latin. But it's abbreviated to Apicet syndrome or APS1.
It's really interesting, actually, how your doctor circulating this info led to a lot of questions being answered, because I suppose in your family as well, obviously initially, your caregivers are going, well, we don't know what's going on. From 2 to 4, it's a long time. I mean, looking back now, it might say, well, it was 2 to 4, but with living through that, not knowing what the right thing to do. And then I suppose, what was their reaction? Did they ever tell you what the reaction was, is when they knew what it was and then could start sort of dealing with it and giving you as normal a childhood as possible?
Well, I did ask my mum this once, and she said she actually didn't take it in at all, really. It was just, at that point, I suppose she was probably happy that she knew exactly what was wrong with me. But then it was just kind of, from then on, it was just survival mode then. Taking one day as it goes. And like, both my mum and my dad are amazing, because like I have 2 younger sisters as well. So they had that. And
there was a lot to juggle, wasn't
there was a lot to juggle.
And they have to make sure that they're giving as much attention to everybody. And it's often when there is a child that needs an additional care, especially when there are siblings.
Oh yeah, my
Parents
sisters will definitely, they'll say, yeah, she got all attention.
But you were the firstborn anyway, you deserved that.
I know, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'm saying, whatever.
Yeah.
So when we talk of an autoimmune disease, you've got 9. Our immune system is there, and I'm not a doctor, of course, to protect us, right? So is it a case that your body's kind of attacking itself? Is that how you would sort of phrase that?
The way they explained it to me in Crumlin was that our immune systems are made up of like tiny little soldiers, and in my immune system I have some rogue soldiers that go a bit crazy every so often and attack me instead. Now I am getting IV immunoglobulin, so they did decide then to kind of kill off my immune system with the medication, and now I get an infusion every week to replace that.
Yeah, so in other words, this rogue army and the regular army, they've been disbanded.
Yeah,
and to make sure that, stuff that you're vulnerable for, you're injected to best protect you.
Yeah, so that's from what I understand anyway, and so far anyway, since I've been getting that treatment, despite having to be a lot more careful for infections, I haven't had any more autoimmune diseases, touch wood.
So in terms of, your treatment as a child and teenage years, did your life function somewhat normally? Did you become used to this, or was it very disruptive? How did it affect you in your education?
I don't think I started to realise it up until I started secondary school, to be honest.
Right,
because primary school, I was barely there anyway.
Yeah.
And
would that be because of hospital appointments or illness?
Being sick and hospital appointments. And then at that age too, you be with your parents, like your parents go everywhere with you anyway. Then I remember when I started secondary school, I had realised other people my age were having a lot more freedom than me. And it was a bit disheartening, because on one hand, even if my parents did decide to let me go off and, I don't know, do whatever, I wasn't well enough to do it.
Yeah. So, it was a tough balance for them to strike too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
To protect you, but to give you a little bit of independence here and there. I wouldn't like to have to sort of walk that line, but they did as best they could, quite clearly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, it's I think it's as much about age and self-awareness rather than which school you're in, isn't it? It's sort of like, you start seeing way more people, because you've grown up with your friends in national school as much as you've seen them, but then you
Yeah.
go to secondary, all the schools come into the one place, and you sort of start going, well, she's not like that, or he's not
Yeah.
like that there. And so that took a bit of working through, or did it weigh on you
did.
throughout your whole education, your secondary education?
It kind of does, because for me, my life's obviously very different. For me, hospitals, injections, medication is a normal. So when I start talking about it to other people, I don't realize that there's people out there who have never been in a hospital before. Like, they have no idea what I'm talking about. And I had to get very good at kind of realizing that when I was talking to other people, and almost not hide it, but just not bring it up as much, which also meant there was a lot less things I could feel I could talk
Yeah.
about, because I didn't really know.
But I suppose too, there's bound to be part of you that don't want to be defined by
Oh, yeah.
your illness either. You want
Yeah.
to be, you want to be for people to understand that there's so much more to you.
Yeah.
And how did you do in your education in secondary school with everything that you were sort of trying to keep the balls in the air, so to speak?
I done quite well, because I'm quite competitive, and as well that when I was in hospital, I used to get my SNA to send my work in to me.
Yeah.
So
You asked?
yeah, I
All right,
asked.
okay.
She would be emailed, and she would make me tell everybody that I wanted her to do that, though,
Yeah.
because it made her look kind of bad. But I insisted, because I didn't want to land back in school and be behind on top of everything else. So while I was in hospital, like, the way I thought of it, there's a lot of waiting around. I may
Use
as
the
well.
time,
Yeah.
pass the time that way. So you got your leaving cert?
I got my leaving
Well
cert.
done, okay.
And I went on then to ATU, Letterkenny, and got my bachelor's in food science.
Hold on a second.
nutrition.
I've got 15 minutes left of this interview.
Oh,
You've just told
right.
bloody. All right, then. Thanks so much for calling in, Saoirse. So then you decided to go to nutrition, right? Because you're a qualified nutritionist. That's what. Because of what you went through and the issues with gaining weight and your diet and, you know, being conscious of food and eating, did it become clear early on that you could sort of become an expert in this area and help other people and yourself in the process?
I think it was more the fact that I just found it very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember nutrition or dietitians coming in to see me in the hospital, and they'd get on with like whatever the reason I'm there for, and then I'd just have a nice wee chat with them then. So I also loved learning about the way your body works, because that's what I
You've
was
heard so
hearing
much
about.
info about it, and
Yeah.
it is, you know, as negatively as it has impacted you at times as well. It is really quite fascinating how the body works and how one body or one person's system can work different to another, and why, and what we can do to sort of work with it and stuff. So secondary school's one thing, right? That's a big leap from national school.
Yeah.
Now ATU's, now we're getting into you know. The big leagues here, because, you know, obviously you're coming of an age where you want even more independence.
Yeah.
And I presume along that way there were really quite significant milestones for you, not just in education, but I suppose in you as a late teen young adult and you know, finding your feet and your independence.
Yeah, like I remember looking back now, my first week at secondary school, I got asked to go out to lunch, like down the town or whatever. And like to most other teenagers, that's not that big a thing. To me, like that was the best thing to happen to me. Like that was the highlight. Like I was allowed to go off on my own, well, with other teenagers, and now it was literally from the old Finn Valley College to where they used to have Kiernan's. Like it was like not that far.
But for you, it was.
For me, it was, and then
because it was normality, wasn't it?
Yeah, like nobody really mentioned anything about medical conditions or blood sugars or anything. I was just
Social.
Yeah, I was just like them.
One of the crew. And were there more of those experiences as you moved to the ATU?
Yeah, there was, but I suppose as I got older, then everyone else around me started to grow older as well and go to things like discos. I remember having very heated arguments with my mother that I wanted to go to Glenties, and she was like, most of the time, like my mum and dad, they would let me go to teen discos, but they would sit outside in the car which was a good job because some of the times I would actually have to come out to them because my blood sugars would go low or something. So Mum was like, "Do you really expect me to go the whole way to Glanty's with you?" And I was like, "Yes." But turns I didn't get to Glanty's, but I'm happy enough. I think I was okay. I wasn't too hard done by.
Good stuff. You did the undergrad at ATU, and you wanted to continue. Continue your education to go on for your masters. So everything so far is closer to home, right? So you ended up going down to UCD.
Yeah.
Is that a complication with your condition? And what did you overcome to make that happen?
Well, the thing is, when I was doing my CAO, I actually put down UCD, and in my mind, I was going to UCD, and looking back at that point, I was not well enough to be going anywhere. So I think for a while, people kind of went along with it, and then they realised I actually believed that I was going, and they kind of said, try closer to home first. I'm very glad I went to ATU first, because it was like talking about a leap from primary school, secondary school. I was like a much bigger leap. The first week at ATU, just for me, because I have Addison's disease, a lot of changes. It's like a dominoes effect. Everything goes haywire. That first week at ATU was like, I think I got 2 ambulance rides, 3 trips to the hospital, and I think I only missed 2 classes though. So I was like, we'll wait till this class is over.
How did you squeeze it all in?
I don't know.
I know.
I was very tired after that week.
But I mean, there's a fun. I mean, obviously, this is your competitive spirit. You had UCD set in your head.
Yeah.
You were a regular attendee at St. James. They're not a million miles away, right? So you can make this work. But did you need additional support in Dublin as part of being able to move there once you were accepted?
Yeah. So my mum and dad are my full-time carers at home, and they do I couldn't go from that to nothing. And I knew that, so I knew that I would have to have at least an overnight care, because for me at night, that's when most things start to go wrong.
Haywire, yeah.
Yeah, so I suppose you say petitioned the HSE for this, and it was a very long, very stressful road. It was a battle, and there were a few times that I just thought, is this really worth it?
So I know you were back and forwards with the HSE for 2 years. So did you have to defer UCD until you won that battle with them?
No, I didn't apply until I was kind of sure I was getting somewhere.
Understood, yeah.
And then I applied thinking, I think they're going to say yes. So, but I actually got accepted from UCD before they had actually said yes.
Right.
So I had to contact UCD, because they give you, I think, 2 weeks to accept. I was like, please keep my spot. I don't know when I can say yes, but I can't say yes until I know this is started. And they were so good. Like, UCD were brilliant from the beginning.
And how long did it take then?
It was like 6 weeks after when I should have accepted.
But your gut was right,
Yeah.
I knew.
Yeah.
So they help fund care.
Yeah.
So they provide funding. You get a carer yourself, and it turns out a former schoolmate was one of your was one of your carers.
I knew she'd gone on to be a nurse, and I just thought, I actually contacted her because I thought she might know of anybody who would be up for like a job like that. It was only nighttime care, so it was like 15 hours at night, and they would be in a separate room, so they'd be able to sleep and all, just be able
on call,
on call more or less.
Yeah.
And Elise had been living in Cork, and she was moving back, and she said that she would do the first couple of weeks anyway to get me settled. And honestly, the fact that I knew Elise already, it really helped me settle in. And she's brilliant, like so competent, and all medical phase. My parents were really comfortable.
They have to be assured in this, because they've invested so much emotion in you. And I think, the easiest thing in the world would try and play it safe, hold you back, say, can you not do this? This is available here. But for you to head down to Dublin, I know all the credit's yours, right? But I know as a parent, they had to let you go a bit as well, like, didn't they? And things like getting to and from, having that independence, being in a city. I mean, did you grow an awful lot yourself then?
Definitely.
You know, when your own confidence, what you can achieve.
I have no sense of direction, Greg, so I think that's what worried my mum and my dad a lot. That I would just be lost all the time. Now, UCD is the campus itself. I did get lost quite a few times because it's so big.
Yes.
When I figured out that the 39A bus basically gets me most
Wherever
places,
go,
I was like, right, I'll just stick to that bus and I'll be okay. It did take me a while to get comfortable enough to venture off campus. But once I'd done it first couple of times, like I would manage to get myself in and out of Dundrum and into the city centre.
And at this stage, you're able to socially spread your wings a bit more, because there's obviously academic growth, right? But there's your life growth here, and I presume that was everything fast forwarded then. You know?
Like I joined the UC Dance Society, and they were so welcoming as well. And then I loved dancing as well. I danced with Ashleen Academy in Stranorlar. And it was great to just be able to take loads of different workshops, meet loads of people that have the same interests. And like UCD has so many different clubs and societies as well. So I was spoiled for choice.
Right. So, I mean, you're getting an insight into your own health and nutrition and the importance of what goes into your body and how it can help, whether it's gaining weight, whether it is loose stools, whatever it might be, right? So you're learning, but you're also doing at the same time, aren't you? Because so this gives you, I think, as a fully qualified nutritionist, this gives you sort of like a huge advantage, because you know exactly how important one's diet can be.
Yeah, and for me as well, the gut.
What do we mean when we talk about the gut health?
Yeah, so it's basically anything in your digest, from your mouth, your throat, like right down your stomach, and till it comes out the other end, everything. So for me, that's always been medically my biggest issue. That's why I'm actually on a very specialised tube feed now, because I can't absorb my food. But I realised whenever I started this tube feed and started getting the right nutrition, how much better I became. Like infection-wise, energy-wise, my skin, my hair, everything.
So it's not really how the food is delivered, whether it be a tube or your mouth. It's actually what goes into your system that's the critical thing,
And as well, that like gut health is a big thing, is kind of coming out now, how important your gut health is for everything from sleep, weight maintenance, whether it's gaining weight or losing weight, mental health as well. It's a big link between mental health, because if you think about it, like a lot of people that have gut issues like IBS, Crohn's disease and all, they do suffer from some kind of mental health issues.
And stress can be a trigger.
Stress trigger, For me, if I get stressed, the first thing to go is my stomach. So I know that my gut plays a big role in any part of me, really.
So do you work across the spectrum in nutrition, or do you specialize in certain cases, or
no? So I would try and help anybody I could, like obviously, and I do kind of focus on the gut, because I don't like to give somebody advice, because I believe nutrition is personalized. So I don't like to give them advice without any evidence to back it up. So I do offer this gut microbiome test, and then once you do that, I can get results to show your gut microbiome, how healthy it is, what you need to do.
But I think that helps the client understand it, because otherwise it can feel just like words. Right? And you need people to buy in, because sometimes results take a while. So if you can say, look, this is evidence-based, this is where you're at now, and this is where we can take you. I think that's really that's a really good way of relating the info.
And like I don't really believe in diets, because number one, they don't work for everybody. So you're going to get some people who they might work for, and other people who are trying so hard and they're just not working, because we're all different. And also, you can't maintain a diet all your life. You want something that's going to help you reach your goals, that you can stay there and not keep having to go back and diet again.
Because of the nature of your work, are you able to do it primarily from home, exclusively from home?
Yeah, well, that's kind of, I set it up during COVID on, I have a website, sourceshealthyliving.com, because
Just get the plug in there.
Yeah, get the plug in. Because I can't drive, so I was like, I need to find something that I don't have to go driving or get people to drive me places.
But
all
it's a perfect trade to sort of be able to do.
Like I've done web chats from hospital room. Like, nobody needs to know, and I'm comfortable with doing it. You know.
Exactly, and what's the most satisfying part of it? Is it seeing the improvements in people? Because I presume you get invested in their story, right, and their journey too. Is that where you get the real thrill from the job?
Yeah, that's what, when I see people and they just say, I feel so much better. That's worth.
And you referenced earlier on about how your nutrition at the moment, so much is affected by, like, I haven't drank any water today, right? Don't shoot me. I've had a couple of cups of coffee, right? But I can feel my muscles tightening in my back. I've kind of got a bit of brain fog. Do you know that sort of way, or that sense of and I know I should do better, and I do try and do better, but it's astonishing, even just the absence of water for a couple of hours, how it can start impacting your vision.
Yeah.
All that type of stuff. And I'm only just on the most basic water level, let alone all the stuff that you can talk about and get involved in.
Yeah. And I try and keep nutrition as uncomplicated as possible, because if it gets too complicated, people just zone out.
Yeah, exactly.
And basically, if you eat more fiber, drink more water, and try and stay away from processed foods as much as possible, that's all you need to do.
Yeah, but I think you're realistic in that it has to be maintainable diet, doesn't it?
Maintainable,
right? Because we can't all switch to
No.
weighing everything and,
No.
I'll get you. So is your health story then an ongoing story now? Are you in a steady space now, though? You're getting your weekly injections. You've found a nutritional food source for you. Like, are you in a good steady space at the moment, or is it one challenge at a time, or what's the story?
It's always going to be one challenge at a time. I suppose at present I'm in good form. It could go from 0 to 100. I don't know, but it's not as bad as it used to be. I am a lot healthier now than I was at secondary school or primary school.
Brilliant.
And there is, for me, the nutrition, the tube feed nutrition is working for me, but the only issue that my doctors have is the actual central line I get it through as a source of infection, and with my condition it's an even bigger.
You're prone to infections, of
and
course.
I've had a few already. I had a few really bad ones, and they're afraid that the next one might not, so they're trying to figure out a way to get me off the tube feed. And so there is a few things going on, but my doctor's in James's, and I have a gastro doctor here in Letterkenny as well, Dr. Steele. They're all they all look after me so well.
They're all on Team Sorsha.
Yeah,
Okay.
I hope so anyway.
Yes, they probably are. Okay, listen, Sorsha, thanks so much for calling in. I really do appreciate your time. If anyone wants any more information about the services you provide, what is your website again?
It's sourceshealthyliving.com.
And is it McKelcher, is it?
Mackelcar.
What?
Mackelcar. No.
MC, hold on a second.
Yeah.
MCELCHR.
I know.
And you want me to say Mackelcar?
Yeah. Well,
okay, I will.
That's not the worst. You should hear what they call me in the hospital waiting rooms.
Oh, I don't want to hear it. Well, not at this time in the morning.
No.
I'm only messing. Sorsha Mackelcar, thank you so much for calling in. Loads of people texting in that know you and those that don't. Do you like when people say you're an inspiration? Does that not every, some people go, some people say, well, I'm just living my life. This is my story. If I inspire people, fine, but I don't know.
It's nice if people think that, but I literally am just, I'm not trying to inspire anybody, but if I do, then,
Well, you are, let me say, and I'll read some of those comments a little later on. It's been lovely having you in. Thank you so very much indeed.
Thank you.
We do appreciate your time. And that was Wellness Wednesday for this Wednesday. And that was the excellent Sorsha Mackelcar. One more time, the website?
sourceshealthyliving.com.
All right, we'll be back with Business News and Chris Ashmore after these.
The 9 till noon show was brought to you in association with Remind. This super strength omega-3 supplement delivers 900 milligrams of omega-3s, plus key carotenoids, backed by science to support brain function and vision. Try Remind today.
Hi folks, Nathan Carter here. Why not join myself and the band plus special guest Lisa McHugh for one night only at the Millennium Forum, Derry, Londonderry on Friday the 2nd of May. Tickets available from box office and from nathancartermusic.com.
New this week in Home Store and More. All pillows are all half price. But better hurry, because when all our half price pillows are gone, they're gone. Also, all lightweight luggage is still all half price, and all rattan garden furniture is still all 33% off. But when all the half price lightweight luggage and all the 33% off rattan garden furniture is gone, it's definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
On Cloud Trainers' new collection at Brian McCormick Sports. Cloud Monster 2 from Max Cushioning and Max Energy Return. Cloud Runner 2 with Cloud Tech cushioning to absorb impact. Enjoy this supportive feel-good running shoe. On Cloud Trainers for all-day activity with comfort and versatility. Look the part, play the part. In-store and online. Click on bmcsports.ie.
Our McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre or online at ourmccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice whatever the occasion. Our McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
The 9 till noon show was brought to you in association with Remind. Packed with high-strength omega-3s and carefully selected carotenoids to support your eye and brain health. Available at all Healthwise pharmacies.
Looking for a technology partner to help you reach your business goals? With cybersecurity solutions from Vodafone, your business can hack off the hackers. And with our collaboration tools like Microsoft 365, your business can bring the team together, wherever they are. Keeping your business secure and productive. Make technology work for you with solutions and support from Vodafone. Search Your Business Can today.
At Restex Beds, we are celebrating 50 incredible years in business. And we are introducing our brand new Glenveigh mattress, comfort that's as legendary as our half-century legacy. Experience 50 years of bedding excellence at Restex Beds, Mountaintop, Letterkenny. Restex Beds, leave the rest to us.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Donegal County Council would like to remind residents that each and every one of us is responsible for making sure the waste materials we generate is dealt with in an environmentally friendly way. Dumping waste can contaminate land, pollute watercourses, encourage vermin, spread invasive species, and impact on human health. It is also a visual blight on our beautiful countryside. Unauthorised waste activities such as dumping and burning of waste is illegal and can lead to fines, court appearances and in some cases a criminal conviction. We all have a part to play, so let's work together to keep Donegal beautiful.
Okay, it is time for this.
Business Matters on Highland Radio is brought to you by Local Enterprise Office Donegal. If you have an idea to start or grow your business within Donegal, contact the Local Enterprise Office to find out more about the supports available for businesses. See localenterprise.ie/Donegal.
Hi, Chris, and we'll start with news of supports to actually get your business off the ground.
Yes, just want to let people aware of the Local Enterprise Office is running a Start Your Own Business programme. Now, this is a virtual one, so you go online. It's beginning on Tuesday the 6th of May from 6 to 9:30 p.m. It's done over 8 sessions, 2 evenings per week across 4 weeks. So, look, if you have an idea of a business or maybe you're in the early stages of starting one, This is a great way of helping you to develop your business plan and idea with expert support, and it costs just €25. So, a big or a tiny investment for a potentially very big return on that.
You're committing yourself to something. You want to make sure you're getting it right. Yeah. There's a business survey out or concluded in Donegal?
Yeah, now the Letterkenny Chamber has, it's called a Business Sentiment Survey, and essentially they're looking for people to fill out the survey. It takes about 10 minutes online. The topics will include what are the biggest challenges you face in your business, what are the opportunities. All responses are confidential, and the feedback will help shape the Chamber's own business agenda going forward. And you don't have to be a member of the Chamber, but it's a communications exercise, but it's helping to identify what the big issues are out there.
Quite interesting. It seems to follow sort of national, international trends too, how sentiment is affected. Listen, networking is a huge part of business, and there's a big event coming up with Donegal Women in Business.
Yeah, now the Donegal Women in Business Network, they have been doing this for a number of years now. It sounds very simple. It's an annual coffee morning. They have a number of events around the county, but look, it's a chance to go along in a very relaxed atmosphere, meet people who are in other businesses, exchanging ideas. So they have venues in Donegal Town, Buncrana, Dunloe, Letterkenny, details on their Facebook page. It's all happening on Friday the 16th of May, so we're giving it plenty of advance notice. Has been very popular in the last couple of years. So, as I say, Friday the 16th of May, and nicely scattered around the county, the Donegal Women in Business Network.
What's this about Donegal Company and Fit Workers? The figures are astonishing here.
Yeah, now this is, it certainly is.
I can rule out Highland Radio at this early stage.
Well, TCS Global, as it's called here in Letterkenny, just down the road from us here in the business park, they took part in an Irish Life Workplace Fitness Challenge. So basically they were given a 3-week challenge. Workers were measured how many steps they were doing. They got a large number involved, and over 3 weeks, combined total of everybody was 26 million steps. So that got them into the top 5. And look, it's all about having a healthy workforce, encouraging people to have a little bit of exercise. So ticked a lot of the boxes, Greg.
Yeah, now this week's podcast, which will be live this afternoon on our website, this is an interesting one. We talked about starting your own business, but this is one of those that are really, really interesting. They're all interesting, Chris, but this one piqued my interest.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, some years ago, the McGeehan family here in Letterkenny, breakfast in the morning, and Brian McGeehan at the time was working in Seagate in Derry, and often he had to leave early before the kids went to school, and quite often he might have been on his way into Derry and he got a call, what are the roads like? And his sons Owen and Ronan were in Colossia Alley, and they entered the Young Scientists exhibition up in Dublin because they thought, well, look, there's lots of people out on the roads. Could we alert people when there's black ice? Mm-hmm. And what started off as a conversation, they looked into it, and essentially they won the Young Scientist competition. They got a patent, they got a trip to Seattle, they got a prize. Roll forward a few years, and Brian McGeehan, he took a package in Seagate, and he has now gone full-time into this. And what they have is basically a device. Now, as most people will be aware, water expands when it freezes. So they used a chemical solution, and when there was expansion, a blue liquid went up over the lens of the cat's eye. So the cat's eye went from white to being blue. So in essence, what would happen is you would have a cat's eye, and when the ground temperature freezes, this little device will change the colour of the cat's eye to blue.
Black ice.
So you're out in your car and you'll see it maybe 100, 150 yards in advance. So from a road safety point of view, the problem with black ice is you don't know it's suddenly there. Mm-hmm. But if you get this warning that the road temperature is freezing or below, and there's a blue cat's eye there, you're going to slow down.
It doesn't have to be every cat's eye necessarily.
No. Okay. So it certainly has massive potential, and he's based in CoLab here in the ATU in Letterkenny, developing it. And the hope could be within the next year or two, it could come to market, and a huge potential market out there.
So the entire mechanism is power free. It has no power source. It's based on physics, and chemistry, and everyone understands that when water freezes, it expands. It actually expands by 9%. So the expansion was what the boys used as a trigger mechanism for alerting drivers. So when the expansion takes place, it triggers a change in volume. That change in volume displaces a blue liquid, which will change the colour of the light as the light reflects through it, hits off the back and reflects back through it a second time and on its way back to the driver. So that's how that works.
All right, Chris's full conversation with Brian McGeehan, and that could be, you could be hearing about something that could be, revolutionise travel in areas prone to black ice. That full podcast will be available a little after 12. Chris, it's broadcast on Sunday as well.
That's right. It'll be broadcast on Sunday after the 6 o'clock news, and the long-term aim will be to actually manufacture these new versions of the cat's eyes here and replace them in countries potentially all over the world.
Astonishing stuff. If anyone wants to get in contact with you?
Best way is by email. The email address is businessmatters@highlandradio.com.
Thank you, Chris. See you next Wednesday.
Thank you
so very much indeed.
The 9 till noon show was brought to you in association with Remind. This super strength omega-3 supplement delivers 900 milligrams of omega-3s plus key carotenoids, backed by science to support brain function and vision. Try Remind today.
If you have a cough, flu, sore throat, or if you're just feeling miserable, don't suffer through it. At McGee's Chemist, we have the expertise to help you feel better. Our pharmacists and experienced staff will recommend the most effective over-the-counter solutions and give advice on how best to manage your symptoms. At McGee's, we have a wide range of trusted brands and products to help you recover. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For healthcare help and advice you can always trust.
Welcome to Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms in Donegal Town. Discover affordable luxury with their bespoke fitted furniture solutions. With almost 30 years of serving Ireland and the Northwest, we're your trusted experts. Visit us Monday to Friday 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. and on Saturdays from 9 a.m. until 3:30 p.m. Book your free consultation today on 074 9725822 or visit cherrymore.ie. Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, where affordability and luxury combine.
I've just had the Eclipse Cinemas experience. Wow, they truly have taken a night at the movies to a whole new level. Amazing recliner chairs, director's lounge VIP rooms, pizza and hot food served to your seat. Have a glass of wine and enjoy the film on the big screen. Try it for yourself at Eclipse Cinemas Bundoran and Lifford Strabane, where the stars shine brighter. By the way, the pizzas are amazing. You can book your seat anytime at eclipsecinemas.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Discover trending new styles each week in fashion, footwear, accessories, homeware and more. Visit us to explore the latest arrivals in store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
Okay, dry with sunny spells, light winds, temperatures around 14 to 15 degrees. Now, The Last Ditch is a new book, and if you just looked at it on the face of it, you would believe it's a book about sport. Its author is Eamon Sweeney, and Eamon, it is a book about sport, isn't it? But much more as well. The reader is getting an awful lot from your work. Congratulations on getting your latest work out, and tell us about the book.
About the book, you can hear me, Greg, can you?
Oh, loud and clear. I just presume I could. Go ahead, Eamon.
I'm a bit of a new hand at this kind
Well,
of
you're doing
technology
brilliant.
and Zoom and
You're
stuff.
perfectly framed and you sound great. I can't say that of all our guests. Go ahead, Eamon.
That's grand. It's a book about following the championship in 2024, and it's a follow up to a book I did in 2003. It's also about the fact that when I took on the book, I didn't think I had any hope of actually writing it because I'd been kind of crippled with this anxiety, which had prevented me largely travelling beyond Skibbereen, where I live, for years, so kind of it was a bit of a punt taking on the book to see if I'd be able to do it at all, you know.
Did you do it retrospectively, or did you write it through the year? Or not necessarily write it through the year, but log what you thought might be included.
I kind of kept a diary as I went along, but the funny thing about it was when I started, I had in mind a fairly straightforward thing of matches from week to week to week, and then when it finished, I met the editor of the book, and on the way out, we met for a coffee, and on the way out, I said, "Do you know something? The gas thing is, I didn't think I'd get this book at all because when I took it on from you, I hadn't travelled anywhere in years." And she said, "But sure, that's the book." She said, "That people would be interested in that, you know." So I said, "Well, yeah, you know, that's maybe I'll do that." So I had to kind of junk all the stuff I'd written up to then and kind of rewrite it then from kind of bringing that in, you know.
So there's an awful lot going on there, and it amazes me about authors how you can structure it, right? So how you can and this has been so broadly welcomed, right? How you can intertwine, you know, and the championships throw amazing stories every year, but in your own personal journey, what you're overcoming, to be able to intertwine all of that into a book, I find fascinating that people have that ability and skill.
Yeah, well, I suppose the book, books in a way, it was a long time since I'd written a book, but in a way it kind of wrote itself. And because I suppose if you're very much into sport, and I suppose my life is sport, I write about sport, I go to sport and so on. A lot of the landmarks of your life are like, well, that's the time. For example, I remember my first daughter was born the day Roy Keane was sent back from Saipan. You know, so you tend to be counting out things like that. My mother had a stroke the day of the All Ireland hurling final when Limerick bet Cork, and so in a way that it's kind of it's naturally interspersed in your head in a way, you know, and so that and even this kind of terrible anxiety I was suffering largely manifested itself in the fact that, you know, I couldn't go to matches was the real kind of killer. So, I mean, that's in a way it kind of structures itself, you know, and also I suppose that was the point when I set off on the book. I thought, I mean, what are the chances this is going to be finished? I'm going to kind of fall by the wayside because I'd been very much kind of, you know, diminished by anxiety and stuff over the years. But week by week it went on, and by the end, at the start I was enduring it, and by the end I was enjoying it, you know.
So, I mean, this is genuinely your journey as well.
It is my journey. I mean, it was, to be honest, about 10 weeks before they asked me to do the book, I'd had the worst ever attack I'd had. I was very close to, I mean, I don't know, do you use the word madness? But I certainly was in a very, very, very bad place that I dreaded for years. And I sat at home and I said, that's it. I'm never moving beyond the bounds of Skibbereen again. And then the editor pops up and says, do you want to do this book? You could be travelling all over Ireland. You did 21 years ago. She hadn't a clue what was going on. And I, like, to be honest, originally I tried to put her off, and as my daughters would say, told me, what you're doing, Dad, is called ghosting. I was kind of not answering phone calls from her. And then my daughters actually said to me, sure, Dad, you know, make a real effort to do this. Maybe this is the push you need. Maybe this is, you know, the kind of, you know, big moment, like go for it or and see what happens. So I said, well, what have I to lose? So I kind of, you know, I went to a psychologist, I went to a doctor, I took medication, I said, well, yeah, well, this is it. We'll see how far we go. Even the first match I went to, I was kind of on my way out to the pitch. I was hit by another attack, and I thought, you know, this is never going to fly. But you'll go to the match and see how far you get. And as it turned out, I made it through to the end. And in a way, by doing the book, the whole thing seemed to leave me as it went along. You know, I hadn't, like, my travel anxiety was so bad, I hadn't left the country in 24 years. And after I finished the book, I went to Paris and I went to Amsterdam. So there's a singer I really like, the blues singer called Buddy Guy, and he always says that the thing about the blues is you can only sing the blues if you have the blues, he says, but if you sing them, you lose them, you know.
Yes, a wise man too. I don't know how you continue a career with that in your way. But it's a book that's been because I haven't had an opportunity to read it, Eamon, but I do trust people's opinions in it. And when you have a book that's about different things, but it's the hook is the sport and all that type of stuff, you know, you want to please the sports enthusiasts, right? You're putting out a journey other people have been on there in terms of mental health, so you want to represent that as well. And then, of course, you know, you have to give some of yourself, and you've given much of yourself to this book. There's a lot, you know, there's a lot of people to please. Most importantly, I think yourself in all of that.
Yeah, well, it proved to be, I mean, it sounds like a cliche, a life-changing experience. Before I wrote it, I could go nowhere. By the end, I'd got my mojo back, as they say, you know, and I was back enjoying stuff. And I'd missed it because I suppose the closest thing I could compare it is like during lockdown, which was fierce when people couldn't go anywhere, and it was only when they went back and realised then lockdown was over and they really appreciated stuff. I'd been in my own personal lockdown for years, you know, for the guts of a decade. And to go back and to do something as simple as go to a match and walk in and be surrounded by people and having the chat on the way to it and seeing the game and that was just a fantastic experience. I mean, I wrote myself kind of out of anxiety and into happiness, which was a great
brilliant.
thing.
And I know I've spoken to a number of people that their life improved so much during lockdown. Social pressures were off them with various different things. They were able to stay at home and it be socially acceptable to do so. It's astonishing how different things impact people in different ways. 2024, and maybe it's the same with every season, but it seems particularly from a sporting perspective. Of course, from our own perspective, the return of Jim McGuinness, we're still riding that wave. The grounds are packed. Getting games for home league games, getting tickets, it's like an All-Ireland final, right? We're still riding that. Of course, the women's game continues its ascension. Great things happening in terms of hurling and football. A great year to sort of capture from a sporting perspective too. Eamon, what's your peaks and your highlights?
Well, the interesting thing was it was probably the best hurling championship of all time. It was fantastic. There was one classic after another, especially in Munster, Pact and so on. And the thing was, it was probably the worst football championship of all time. But that was interesting in a way because you saw after years of football getting worse and worse and worse, it more or less kind of disintegrated last year, the championship. I'll never forget being up at a game between Derry and Kerry, which was the low ebb. And a Derry woman behind me stood up and shouted, "Come on, Derry, bore them into submission." You know, and that kind of summed it up.
Stop stealing our tactics.
Yeah.
Well,
and there was
school.
There was a Donegal woman beside me. The previous game had been between Donegal and Louth, yeah, and she'd stayed on to watch it, and she showed me her phone, and it was a friend of her texted and said to her, "Are you still stuck watching this atrocity?" And I mean, there was a kind of and at the end of the season, they changed the football rules completely, so that we're playing almost a completely different game this year. So, but it was interesting to see that. But the return of Jim McGuinness was great. I mean, somebody like Jim McGuinness is fantastic to see him back. You know, his box office, he's interesting. He's he makes the game, not just in Donegal, he makes the game bigger, he makes the game more exciting.
So true. Yeah.
And the rise of Donegal was astounding. He took over a team which was at an absolute low ebb, and everyone was like, yeah, well, Jimmy is obviously a miracle worker, but this is going to take 2 or 3 years. And in fact, Donegal could have won the All-Ireland football
and
last year.
Fundamentally the same team, really.
Yeah, the same team, not any, good players, but nothing outstanding about them. And then you suddenly saw, guys like Pather Mogul and so on looked like supermen under Jimmy, and they'll be very close this year. I suspect you have a reasonable chance of hosting some kind of All-Ireland celebration show in a few months, Well,
I'm trying to not talk about that, but yeah, I feel like we might. And I suppose too, the GA is us, isn't it? It's a community, and you sort of, I suppose, allowed yourself back into that community, and I presume it, not just what happened on the pitch, but in the stands as well, helped you on your journey.
It did. I mean, there's something incredibly benign about the GA. We look at the headlines in the newspapers every day, and somebody's killing. Awful thing happening to people in Gaza. Or, horrendous things happened this morning in Kashmir. But I mean, just you need sometimes to look at the benign phenomenon of loads of people, traveling all over the country to follow their teams, and the friendliness. And it's a very kind of a GA thing. Everyone you meet has to have a conversation with you. You sit down beside someone at a stand. In the stand, you learn about their thing. You see the fans talking to each other. It's a great community thing. I always think the GA is following the championship is almost the best and most representative way to see Ireland in a way, and it's the friendly and it's the friendliest way, I mean, it is, the GA is the GA. It's for I give out about it. It's like I give out about it like everyone else, but it's
Well, I think we can, if we feel we can give out of it, because there's that sense of ownership as well, and you can sort of give out about stuff that you love, and I get
you can indeed, yeah. You're comfortable in that. It's like it's always like the way you give out about a family member, but at the end they're still family.
Michael Harden said a blistering book that everyone who loves football, hurling, or just life in general will relish enormously. Mike McCormick says, a truly valuable account of both how vulnerable and resilient a man can be. No doubt about it. The Last Ditch is one of the books of the year. And Michael Clifford, a man of 3 words, a cracking read, but that'll do too. Listen, I can only scratch the surface in the time we had, Eamon. I think people need to get a hold of this book themselves if they love sport. And sometimes I think we learn most when we're not realizing that we're learning most. You know what I mean? So you can read a book about sport and great sport and memories, but maybe learn a little bit about, your own resilience or where you're at in your life as well. And, I think it's a little bit sometimes like when, dementia is in a stage comedy. Sometimes we can discuss things and learn most when things seem out of context, though it's not. You get where I'm coming from?
Oh, I do indeed, and I always think like that you can't really put sport in one box and life in another.
Yes, how could you?
Sport is part of life.
Sport is life. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, sport is life, for a lot of us.
Eamon, the book's available in all the usual places, of course, and it comes incredibly highly recommended. And I really, really appreciate your time, and I'm actually really warmed that your life has turned around in such a way. It's wonderful to hear that.
Thank you, Greg.
So
That's very nice.
I'm pleased for you and those that care for you, because they watched on as well. So I'm glad to see you back to yourself.
Thank you. Thanks very, very much, Greg. Thanks for having me on.
Take care of yourself, buddy. Thanks so very much indeed. The Last Ditch available in all the usual places. That's The Last Ditch for us here now.